Hello, everybody. Welcome to Games with Love, a place for all games and all people. We are here doing our part two of our Game Awards podcast. I've got on my left
Ty in the house.
and joined with us today is also Kai Arnsdorf.
Yo,
And
what up?
Yeah, so we're gonna jump right into our part two of our Game Awards here. We have 3 categories plus Game of the Year we're gonna try and get through today. And we're going to start off with Best Moment of 2021. I'll quickly read down the list, and then we'll get to cutting some stuff off until we arrive at our top 3 and 2 honorable mentions. So we have the end sequence from Inscription, the Act 2 reveal from Inscription, the baby from Resident Evil 8, Heisenberg fight from Resident Evil 8, the start of the journey in Sable, the elephant in It Takes Two, the dam break in Echoes of the Eye, Cage's Echoes of the Eye, the bubble Echoes of the Eye. We have the secret villa from Forgotten City, the true ending from Forgotten City, the first law break from Forgotten City, the true ending of Death's Door, first musical jam session Artful Escape, the beach in Before Your Eyes, the first encounter with Juliana in Deathloop, the ending of Deathloop, the parasite from Backbone, walking through Gastown from Backbone, the road from Halo Infinite. We have the mining planet from Ratchet and Clank, Repulsor ledge out in Halo multiplayer, Drax's arc conclusion from Guardians of the Galaxy, and a round 6 slow-mo snipe from Lemnis Gate. Let's start at the top. And oh yeah, just so everyone's aware, this podcast will be heavily spoilered, especially this category. This and Game of the Year will probably be the most spoiler-heavy categories, so be wary. We'll try to drop spoiler tags on the YouTube post, but
Basically, if you care a lot about playing a game in the near future.
any games mentioned in that list or any games mentioned that we've mentioned are going to get the shit spoiled out of them. So we'll start.
Basically, like Forgotten City, I'm probably gonna like deafen myself for that because I really want to play that game.
Yeah, sure, that's fine. We can make that happen. So yeah, let's start with the end sequence from Inscription, and let's all talk about that. Kai, have you beaten Inscription yet?
Hell yeah,
Hell
I
yeah.
have.
Okay, we can all talk about this.
You beat it on stream like a real Chad.
Nice.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so so let's start off with if we want to cut or not. What do you guys think about end sequence from Inscription?
I want to hear what Kai has to say about it, to be honest.
Well, I mean, if we're gonna pick only one moment from Inscription,
Personally, I think it should be the end sequence, but
I think it's the end sequence too. To be
Ty?
honest with you, like I was leaning towards that, but I didn't know if anyone would oppose me on that. But I'm feeling that. I feel like we should go with the end sequence.
Okay, yeah, I'm
Because
fine with
for as
that.
much as I love the first surprise, like when you get to the second surprise, the third act, it completely changes the game in a way that I personally enjoyed the most.
yeah, and then
of the 3 acts.
yeah, I think I like the end sequence better. The Act 2 reveal is pretty wild, but
I feel like Act 2 is just too short.
Yeah, but like I don't know.
Controversial opinion. A lot of people would say it's way, way, way too long.
Yeah, a lot of people did not like that
Wow.
sequence. I liked it, but
I liked it too.
I think the ending, like what happens to PO3, and then like getting to play a little bit of Grimora's game, and then like the fucking Yu-Gi-Oh duel battle at the end was all very
Yeah,
satisfying.
the Yu-Gi-Oh duel was
Mhm.
hilarious.
Yeah, and like shaking their hand, and like the last especially like the last part with Leshy where you like just play cards with him and the scale disappears. He's like, let's just play for fun, and I'm like, oh, Leshy, I like
Yeah,
you now.
Very wholesome moment
Yeah.
with you in this.
Yeah, when he
terrifying
says
beast, man.
GG, I was like, yeah, GG.
Yeah.
Good game.
So yeah, so we'll keep that. We'll move on to the Act 2 reveal. I'm guessing we'll cut this then, but we could like quickly talk about it. Also very cool when you first pop into the like Pokemon looking world and start actually collecting cards, and it's like an adventure map. Yeah, it was very cool.
I'll say for anyone who's experienced other Daniel Mellon's games before this one, it was very expected for something like that to happen.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
Didn't take away from how fun it was when you have been experiencing a game for 4 hours and all of a sudden it's completely different.
Yeah, I agree. And as someone who didn't have any of that spoiled for me, it was like cool.
Yeah, plus
Hell yeah.
plus the second act is the only act of the game where every deck style is used.
Yeah,
It's the
that's
only
true.
one.
It's definitely the most fleshed out, regardless of how much people love the 1st act. Like, it's got a lot going on. But we'll cut it. Baby from Resident Evil 8. What do we think about Baby?
I love
What
it.
do we think about Baby?
I love
Should
it,
we
Baby.
keep?
I think we should keep
Keep
to
it on
be
the
honest.
list. Yeah,
Yeah.
this thing is
'Cause,
horrifying.
like,
Yeah.
It's a highlight of the whole game for me,
Yeah,
to be
I
honest.
agree.
I think it's one of the highlights of the whole Resident Evil franchise, to be honest.
I mean, even the setup prior to meeting the baby, like the whole puzzle in
yeah,
that
mannequin
room, the
puzzle makes you
suspense building
uncomfortable.
up until that point, and like seeing the lockers and being like, oh, I know what this is, what's gonna happen, and it just like builds it up perfectly.
You
to
keep
this, like,
seeing all the hiding spots, and you're just
Yeah.
like, oh no,
Yeah.
what's going on?
I love that wherever the baby goes, you can see like a trail of like goop. And
Yeah.
guts wherever the baby goes. Ooh.
yeah, okay, we'll keep that for now then, for sure.
Chase, Kai showed me once. Have you seen the actual death animation for if the baby catches you?
I saw it when watching the YouTube videos to
Okay.
prepare for this. Just
Yeah,
like
you know
eats
that.
you whole.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's one of the best Resident Evil deaths.
Yeah, it's
for
really good.
sure. For a
Heisenberg
game that
fights.
really lacks in them,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like-
agreed.
the only one that's good.
The Heisenberg fight from Resident Evil 8. I vote to cut.
I vote to cut.
It's fun.
Yeah, I also vote to cut. It's fun. It's a cute little moment. Heisenberg's a cool character.
Yeah.
But the
Boulder
most
punching asshole.
Yeah, the best part of that whole boss fight is the boulder
Yeah.
punching asshole comment. It made me laugh like a crazy person.
Yeah. I definitely also had like a shit-eating grin on my face when you first get into the mech and are going in the elevator. I'm like, what is happening right now? Like, what is this game?
Like the game just loses its mind
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah. But yeah, not worthy of staying. So we'll give that a cut. Kai, you haven't had a chance to check out Sable yet, right?
No.
That's okay. This feels like pretty safe to talk about, even if Kai.
Oh,
has
like,
Like it's
Yeah,
this
it's,
is
the,
not in the game.
it's the first seconds of the game. I'm assuming
This is not a spoiler.
It's
It-
made like the first hour
first,
of the game.
First hour, yeah.
Yep.
But I don't. Ty, do you want to explain it?
Yeah, sure. Kai and anyone listening who doesn't know, Sable's a very chill game that's just about exploring and taking your time with things and enjoying the beautiful world. And about an hour into the game, your character has gone on a little journey to get ready for like a leaving home for the first time journey to like find themselves and like go off out into the world. And the game gives you a hover bike straight out of Star Wars and lets you go about that. And the first time you take that bike out of your first town's gate, some gorgeous music from Japanese Breakfast kicks in. The logo comes up as is on stream right now, and the game opens up, and you can go explore in any direction of the world. And there's like so much out there for you to go find. And the killer Japanese Breakfast soundtrack really ties it all together.
Yeah,
It's a great scene.
It like has this like kind of cutscene-esque moment, but then when you get through the gates, like you're driving around with the soundtrack still or the song still playing in the background while you're just like free controlling at that point, and it's just real nice for the next 3 minutes to just ride around this beautiful world and listen to this fucking awesome song.
I had a quest marked on my map to go do, and I completely ignored it when the music started playing and just
Same.
like started wandering and
Just
skirting around corners
exploring,
and kicking
yep.
up sand.
But do we think it hangs? Like, do you want to fight for that for top? Maybe top 5. Like, there's not.
I'll leave it on for now. I'll vote to leave it on.
Yeah,
for
I
now.
vote. We'll keep it on.
It might very quickly get cut, but I'll leave it
Yeah,
on for now.
we'll leave it on for now. This is one that I'll probably vote to cut, but we can talk about it for sure. The elephant from It Takes Two.
Cutie
the elephant. It is a
Cutie the
great.
elephant.
It is a great moment. I mean, Kai, I know you like this moment a lot, so if you want to keep, let me know. But I think that it's just so tonally wild and hilarious, but also sad.
Totally, I think it's
But-
kind of perfect.
You think so?
I mean, it's very messed up. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but I feel like the point of the scene is to establish that these characters have lost something in themselves in their little quest to get back to their own bodies, and like they've clearly are trying to skip over the step of like learning to be good people and getting an actual lesson out of this and go straight
Yeah,
to being
yeah.
in their bodies again.
I definitely agree with you. I want to believe that was purposeful, but I don't know if it. Guess
Hard
it
to
doesn't
tell,
really
maybe.
matter, but it's hard to tell if it was written that way on purpose. Because by the end of the game, it seems like he wants these characters to be likable, but they were so unlikable to me
Yeah.
that I just didn't care about them anymore.
But I mean, you can also say that the whole scene represents like the effects of the divorce on Rose. That these two people, in their bitterness towards each other and just trying to get towards the end goal of a divorce, is destroying their daughter's innocence.
yeah,
and is going to completely change her forever in a way that's negative.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
again, I just sympathize with that thing. You know?
Yeah, that's fair.
I think it's the only point in the game where I'm like, yeah, the storytelling is strong.
Yeah,
the rest of the game, it's very iffy.
Yeah.
But I think that scene is perfect for what the story's trying to go for at that moment. Fucking trucks. I don't know if you'll get to that.
Yeah. I just my personal reaction was just laughter the whole time. But I could see on reflection those themes definitely making sense, but to me I was just like, what the fuck are we doing right now?
I played
this
elephant with Caleb fairly recently, and he was dead silent.
Really?
Played out, just dead silent, like no reaction at all.
I think people react differently to it.
100%.
I've also heard of people I've heard of people crying at that scene. Like, I wouldn't say I was crying at that scene.
I could see it though. It makes sense.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild. But
and again, like Kitty has like 3 lines of dialogue, and you already care, right? Like.
But they have 3 lines of dialogue, but also for the entire section that this character's entire purpose is to get murdered,
to die,
and then they get gruesomely murdered on screen, and it's what you were expecting, I guess.
What? But what do you think? Keep or cut?
I vote cut.
Kai?
Yeah, I'll vote cut.
Okay.
I'll go with the majority here. As much as I love the moment, there's nothing really from It Takes Two in terms of a moment that I would say is top 5. For as much
Agreed.
As I love
cool. We gave it its due at least. These next ones are going to be a little sensitive, so I'm just going to talk about the dam break and the cages. The bubble would be way too much of a spoiler for Ty, and I don't want to spoil it.
Also, let's get this out of the way too. Outer Wilds is a game that fundamentally spoiling ruins the entire game. So even leaving a conversation with heavy spoilers on the podcast is almost not even necessary.
I mean,
because if we're talking about Outer Wilds, I will literally.
There will be people who won't play this though, and they'll want to hear about it. So we'll just do the first 2, and then I won't. I mean, I don't think I'll fight for the first 2. There's other moments like the ending and some other stuff that I would fight for best moment, but there's no point in a podcast that's a joint.
Should I take this first one and explain it since you're gonna take the next one?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. If this is Outer Wilds spoilers, I'm disappearing for a bit.
Hold on, Kai. This is Outer Wilds, but I think it's spoiler light enough that you wouldn't care.
The 2 that we're gonna talk about is, I think. I mean, I can't say for everyone else, but I think that you and Ty, it's not gonna, there's way more other stuff in the game that would be big spoilers. This is first half hour
hour of the DLC,
nothing where you're like, whoa, not even the main game. My god, it's nothing story based, but yeah, Ty can explain it and you can decide if
I'll just explain quickly, and if you want to dip out for Chase's nomination after that, that's fine. But basically the nomination here, Kai, is the entirety of the DLC for Outer Wilds takes place on basically a Halo planet, essentially, structurally, and the planet or the structure is entirely just a big river going around in a ring with different docks and towns and little structures built on the side of this river. And there's a massive dam that I did not see at all when I first entered this place. And basically you find out very quickly that dam was not built stable enough to last the test of time. And a little while into your time in this town, you will all of a sudden be very underwater, and it's just a fun moment when you first getting into the environment that DLC takes place in is breathtaking. It's wonderful.
Yeah, that's a moment on its own. It's just entering this Halo ring,
and then B, after about 10-15 minutes of exploring the first few buildings that you find in this Halo ring, you walk outside, turn to your right, and suddenly there's a tsunami-sized tidal wave coming your way, just devastating the environment.
Oh, like Interstellar.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, I had that very similar experience with this to Ty, where I was exploring just the first couple buildings, and then I just hear it. It's a classic Outer Wilds moment, just like the original game, where I was like, "What was that noise?" And then I go outside, and there's just water flooding the whole place, and it's really cool because it's a Halo ring, but it's not like a Halo ring where it actually feels like you're on a ring.
You can go all the way around
the way around. And so when the water floods, you can see it flooding on the if you look up, you can see it flooding the other side of the ring. It's very cool. Mm-hmm. But we can cut it because again, there's if I was gonna put other moments on this list, they would definitely be ones I'd fight for. But
we're not gonna do that.
I'm not gonna do that. So we'll cut it, and
Chase can talk about
Let's do
cages.
cages, yeah. So Echoes of the Eye is a lot like more horror themed than original Outer Wilds. Outer Wilds has some spooky stuff, but this game has got some like stealth spooky stuff going on. And I'm not going to give away the enemies or anything, but there's a moment where you see all these, and this is also like very arbitrary as a moment. That's why I put it on here, because I feel like I just want to talk about this game without spoiling the really big stuff. But there's like these cages up above you that you can't get to, and there's a moment, I'm not even going to explain what you do to activate this moment, because that in itself is really cool, but you like basically activate this switch, and you could hear in the game, you could hear like things walking around above you, like where these cages are. And so you activate the switch and all these lights shut off, and then you just see like 6 cages just slowly dropping to the where you have to go next, and you're like, oh fuck, I'm about to be in a lot of hot water here. And then that's when like the first like, or one of the first like scary stealth moments happens, and I'm just like, oh god, like all these cages dropping with these like creatures in it. I'm like, yeah, no. That was really cool. And then the bubble would be my best moment of the year, but I'm not even gonna say anything about it, because y'all need to just experience that.
It's a bubble.
It's not even a
It is a
bubble.
bubble.
It's a bubble.
That's the best way I could phrase it without
without spoiling.
spoiling
But
even what
all
the
my
moment
Outer
is.
Wilds gamers in the chat will know. Know
Yeah,
about the bubble.
I think they'll know about the bubble.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, Outer Wilds is a game like very, very short on my list. Like it's
it's
like
on
number
Games Pass
2
now,
game.
by the way. The
I have it
original-
on Steam.
Okay.
So, and I have it on PS4 if I really wanted to.
Yeah, just play it on Steam.
play it.
You probably want to mute now, Kai, for the
If we're going to talk
City
about Forgotten
stuff.
City.
We'll quickly get through these.
Yes. Okay.
Sure.
I'll mute, undeafen, and just
I
message
think he
me.
probably
when you
wants
guys
to
are
do
We'll
done.
just
this
wave.
all three.
We'll just wave at you on the camera.
Yeah, I'll just wave at you.
Sound good?
Okay.
Okay.
So quickly talk about the Secret Villa in Forgotten City. Do you want to do which one do you want to do, and I'll do the other one.
I'll flip a coin with you.
Okay. Wait, we don't have a coin.
All right.
What do you
Okay,
mean?
either way.
Okay, I'll start. I'll do the Secret Villa. So the Secret Villa in Forgotten City, which I think I want to stay if I'm gonna pick any, but
The problem with keeping either of these is that Kai has to join the conversation at some point.
that's true. But we could at least fight for it for
We can
like,
argue
honorable
between-
mentions.
Yeah, okay,
You know?
fair.
But the Secret Villa, yeah, is a portion of the game where you finally get like the weapon in this game, which is a bow that turns things to gold, and you hear about this lady who has locked herself in a villa, and everyone in the town is saying, oh, she's gone crazy. She used to be like the
doctor.
The doctor, yeah, and no one knows what she's doing in there. There's bars on the door, you can't get in, but then when you get the bow, you can climb your way onto the roof and figure out how to get in. And then you realize that she is doing experiments on the gold statues, because she hears the same voice you do from the statues talking, and she ended up like falling in love with the voice. And so she thinks that there's people encased in the gold, that they're not just completely gone. And so you enter this villa, and you see these gold statues like tied up to all this like torture machinery, and she's like peeling the gold off of them. And then you find out the most horrible thing is that she's right. These people are alive, encased in gold for like the past like however many years, hundreds of years.
Mm-hmm.
And but like it's real fucked up. She's like, yeah, basically peeling the gold off, but it's peeling their skin off with them. And the people inside are alive, yes, but like they've gone completely insane because they've been trapped in gold for 100 years, not being able to do anything
to move
but
or
think.
speak or
yeah.
do anything at all. Yeah.
And it's from before that, I did not expect the game to take such like a dark, twisted turn, and it was so interesting.
Yeah.
So I like that.
It gets
moment.
progressively more gruesome as you explore the villa. Like it starts
Yeah.
off pretty tame, and there's just like a couple statue people walking around,
Mhm.
which you may or may not have seen before based on what you've done in the game
Yeah.
up to this point. But by the time you make it up to like the main kind of like the bedroom area where she actually has locked herself up in, it's pretty horrible.
Yeah, it's pretty gruesome.
There's guts and flaky gold pieces chipped off
Yeah.
with chisels and hammers everywhere, and it's real nasty.
Yeah.
But it's a great turn for this game. It's a really good twist for her little section. Add some. Also, I like that the game full on gives you a warning before you go in, saying if you don't like action or horror elements, you
I
can
forgot
beat
about
the
that.
game without doing
Yeah.
this part. The
Yeah.
game full on gives you a pop up saying, "Hey, you don't have to do this if you don't want to."
Yeah.
which is
nice.
appreciated.
Yeah. What do you think? Do you like to keep it? Like,
I prefer to keep this moment over the true ending, which
I
is our
agree.
next nomination.
but yeah, if you'd like to quickly talk about the true
I
ending,
can
so we
quickly
cut
give it its due. Yeah. So the true ending, the what is beyond the white hallway, the thing the game warns you not to show at the main menu. Essentially, to super condense this, is the final twist of the true ending of the game for basically doing everything you can. Is that you discover the real reason behind everything going on in this strange Roman underground town, and it's aliens. It was aliens all along.
Yeah.
It was always aliens. There's just a dude living in a UFO who's like an alien
Super
overlord.
futuristic, yeah.
Super futuristic. Yeah. Up until this point, the entire game has been has just been ancient Roman people in robes, like wandering around and trading bread and cheese with each other. And all of a sudden, the game takes this drastic turn, and it actually ends in a really wholesome place. I'll say
It does, yeah.
The end sequence, basically, he transports you and all the Roman people back to the present time where you're from, and you get to meet and talk to all of the ancient Roman people in the present time, and they've all had some time to adjust and get used to this new world they live in, and they're all wearing modern clothes, and you get to walk through a museum of Roman history and kind of talk to them all about how their life's been and what they've been up to so far, and that's a nice moment.
How they're like adjusting to the modern world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I personally like that even better than like.
Yeah, me too. The thing with the alien overlord is like,
yeah.
Whatever. It's just weird and quirky, and it's fun for this game, but
Yeah.
could take it or leave it, honestly.
Yeah, we'll cut it. I think for such a short game, it was a cool,
Cool.
a cool ending, and the fact that there's other endings too, you can kind of pick the one you like best. But we'll cut that, and then we'll quickly mention the first law break in Forgotten City. I think that's worth cutting too. But I think this is probably most people's experiences, like the first time you steal something. But there's multiple ways to break laws, like killing someone or I don't know what other ones. Maybe lying. No, I don't think lying
doesn't constitute.
No, but basically there's a couple of different ways to like sin in this world. And before this moment, you've heard that there's the golden rule that if you break, everyone gets turned to gold, and basically the world ends. And you're not entirely sure if that's legit or not. That's kind of what you're finding out through
Break
the
a
game.
rule, find out.
But then you inevitably steal some gold from a chest or something, and then a booming voice comes over, and it's just like, what does it say again?
The sins of
the sins of one are something about how
the many shall suffer for the sins of the one.
You got
that's
it.
what
You got
is.
it. And then all the gold statues come alive and start turning everyone to gold, and you see the magistrate.
The city
main
erupts
character,
in chaos.
Just sprinting to the portal, and it's just like, follow him, and you're like, oh god, I gotta get out of here. But it was
Good
cool,
first
cool
moment.
little moment, but
we probably should have talked about that one first if we were going to go in order
True.
of spoiler, but whatever, it's fine.
We'll just put Forgotten City spoilers.
Yeah,
on
Forgotten
the
City
thing
spoiler timestamps.
Um,
I'll also say, like, one more quick note on the Forgotten City is the moment when you confront the magistrate with actual evidence of kind of a lot of stuff that's going on in town, and he says, well, yeah, I know, like, you're an idiot, and I'm going to live forever, and you find out that he really wasn't such a good dude.
Guy. Yeah, also a good part.
Also a good moment, but...
All right.
Should we wave Kai back in? Hey, Kai, you can rejoin the chat now.
Oh, I can enter the chat now.
Welcome back.
So we decided to keep one of them, the Secret Villa. We'll probably fight for it for top 5. I know you can't really argue back, but we probably won't put it in the top 3, so it should be okay. The two of us like it, so
if we end up cutting it, we end up cutting it.
But yeah, we might also cut it. So
if I were to have played Forgotten City, I would probably like it too. It's literally the next game.
Safe
on my
assume
list.
that.
Nice.
Yeah, it's nice and short too. But here's some ones that we can talk about. Well, me and Kai can talk about the first one on here, and I know you said you don't really care about the ending of Deathloop, and you shouldn't because it's not really that important. But we'll talk about the first Juliana encounter, like with an actual player, which I think is a great moment. Yeah, so like the first time it says Juliana has invaded, and you're like, oh shit, if I, die here, my run's over, and I gotta start again. And I think that just added a lot of intensity. That's definitely probably my favorite thing about Deathloop. Just added a lot of intensity. You could also argue for like first time you actually kill her, that might be synergetic with the first time you meet her if you're really good. But I died like 3 times before I finally killed her and was like, fuck yes, like it felt really good to finally take her down.
Or an even better moment, the first time you're Juliana and you kill a cult.
Yeah, also good.
Feels so good because you have to earn that.
Yeah, we'll just call this like Juliana cult interactions essentially is like the moment. But I don't know, do you like this enough to keep or cut, Kai?
Would I say it's like the best moment in like this year though.
Yeah, I don't think it'll
I'd
make
still
top 3.
say
It could,
no.
yeah,
I'd still say no, but
yeah.
like honestly, like probably both for Deathloop for me are probably gonna be no's anyways.
Yeah,
If I do keep it.
let's cut it. I'm with you. If you're not gonna keep it, I also don't think. I also skip some, but we'll go back to them after. And then quickly talk about the ending of Deathloop. So yeah, I thought this was just, again, I definitely want to cut this, but I thought this was just a cute ending. Essentially, you finally do your perfect loop of killing all of the 8 visionaries, and the last one left is Juliana, and you get into this like boss battle-esque, like digital looking room, and she's just kind of there waiting to have like a conversation with you, and she tries to convince you like to not break the loop and stay in it. And she opens like a chest with 2 dueling guns in them, and it's just like, all right, well, if you want to break it, like, let's do this then. And then she like holds the gun up to your head, and you hold the gun up to hers, and you like count down, and then you just don't shoot, and you're like, nah, I like being in the loop, let's just stay in it. And then you end up like being friends with Juliana and just being like, yeah, do you want to like get a drink after this, instead of like being angry at her the whole time. And I just thought it was good, and I enjoyed it. I didn't expect that, but there is hints of it throughout the game. Like Juliana throughout the game is telling you like, you like this, like you don't lie to yourself, like you want to stay in the loop. And Colt's always like, nah, I'm breaking out of this loop. And then you realize at the end he's like, nah, yeah, this is really fun, I just want to stay and kill things for the next millennia. But again, not worth staying. But I thought it was an interesting take. It's a lot more
I mean, it's definitely a little unexpected. I'm surprised they actually went in that direction.
Exactly, that's what I liked about it. It would have been a lot safer
sense
to just, I don't know, have this boss fight and then.
There we go. Now I never need to beat Death.
Never has to be done unless you want to see the secret ending.
True, there is a secret ending, but it's lamer than the actual ending. So. But so we'll cut that and we'll go to the one I missed. This is a tie one, the true ending of
Death's Door. About some Death's Door really quick. Cool. Yeah, this is one that I'm perfectly happy cutting. But going for the true ending in Death's Door is a bit of an arduous task. You beat the main game, and basically you are presented with, okay, go back now and explore the entire game world again and go find these magic rocks. And it's a bit of a gut punch for sure when you first beat the game and are like, oh, I have to go explore the whole world again and look for seeds to plant in pots and pots to plant my seeds in. It's a real weird game. But once you finally do all those little chores, and there's some fun ones in there, like a bonus optional boss fight and some cute stuff, you get to the end of the game, you go through the door, and you go into the boss arena from Acid Nerve, this developer's previous game's final boss. And it kind of ties the 2 games, Titan Souls and Death's Door, together in a really interesting, cool way with the character of Truth, which is this like eye-looking thing that I'm sure has appeared on the stream by now.
Yeah.
And Truth basically is this idea of like an all-knowing eldritch being that knows exactly what's going to happen as a result of any of its own actions. So basically, any interaction with it in these games is like, oh, it's planning something. It has some purpose here. And it's like just a real spooky, ominous thing. And the devs have gone on record and said that there's going to be at least one more game in this universe that is pretty exciting to hear about. And yeah, it's just a cool moment. They tie their 2 games worlds together in one really succinct bow that I enjoyed a lot.
Cool. So we will cut that then. Where are you, Death's Door? Oh, I already cut it. And then same for me is a moment. For a game that I just played, is the first time I guess it's technically the second time, but when you enter the alien multiverse in The Artful Escape and start jamming on your guitar. Again, I think as a mechanic, it gets old jamming, like, because that's basically what you do the whole game is just mash your controller and jam on your guitar. But the first time you do it in this like beautiful like backdrop where there's like a huge winding road just in space is really cool, and it just like is a very good way to show how striking this game's art style is. But yeah, very very small moment of happiness, but definitely worth cutting. It doesn't have a lot of emotional depth to it. I was just like, oh shit, this is super cool. But yeah, I will cut that. And we'll move on to Before Your Eyes, which I don't think I got YouTube footage of, so give me one sec here. This, again, also a game that I would suggest, like Echoes of the Eye. It's very short. It is absolutely worth playing. Like, if you haven't played it yet, I would suggest playing it before you listen to this, but because it's only an hour and a half. But yeah, essentially this moment, which is my personal favorite moment of the year, so I want it to stay, is I don't know why, again, this one hit me the hardest, but I'm going to try and talk about it without getting like sappy like I normally do. But yeah, it's like the best friend character is this little girl who I just found her personality to be very quirky and relatable, and I liked her a lot. And you know, at the point in this game, your mom is kind of pressuring you to go to a different school because you're really good at piano. So she wants to go to a more focused like art school. And instead of staying up and practicing piano for your entry exam to the school, your best friend like asks you to sneak out and go to the beach and just like stay up all night talking and stuff. And while you're doing that, you're spelling "stay here" in the stars, and I thought it was just really fucking beautiful. And it like made me, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, man, it just made me think about how all of the small moments in life are like the things that matter the most, you know, just like hanging out with friends. This is the stuff that really actually matters. So yeah, I thought that moment was really beautiful.
I gotta say, did anybody playing this game ever choose to stay home and study for the piano recital?
Yeah, you're a monster. If that was your choice instead of sneaking out with your friend.
What happens.
But again, as someone who like, I don't know, this just hit a lot of like, again, this is a very personal game. It's either gonna hit you or not, and a lot of these beats just were like reminded me of my childhood, and like this as well. Is like doing shit like this with my friends is stuff that was really important to me. So yeah, I like personally, this is my favorite moment. So I would like to keep it for now, and then we can revisit that for.
Kai,
I don't know.
any
And
thoughts on
also,
this
yeah, if you guys
segment?
want to talk about it, because I know you guys
Yeah,
have
I
played.
can weigh in, but I kind of want to hear Kai's opinion first.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, I really love that scene because yeah, I did choose to go out and go sit down on the beach
Because you're not a monster.
I would say like
Yeah.
I'm good with keeping it for now at least because it's a really solid moment. But for me, my favorite moment of the game is the very last bit.
Yeah, I was actually going to add that
hit.
because I really liked that as well. We can, you know what? We can quickly talk about that because I can just add
We're not
that.
above quickly adding things to this list.
Yeah, this is the one thing we'll add here. Ending Before Your Eyes.
I thought the stay here moment personally was cute, but it didn't really do that much.
Yeah,
for me
again,
emotionally, like it did, like it seemed to for you, Chase.
That's the thing. I don't think for a lot of people listening to people's thoughts on the game, it seems to be obviously that the ending or like the stuff with the mom, you know, is just the stuff that hits hard, and that hit me hard too. But for some, like that's why this is my like personal moment. It just fucking, I don't know what to tell you. I was just crying and like it really got me. But yeah, we can talk about the ending really quick. Kai, do you want to
take point?
You have to accept dying.
Yeah,
It's fucking hard, man. Like you
Yeah,
just
and
gotta
it's-
hit that moment where you say it's okay,
yeah.
and you just blink.
And it's very
And-
different because it's not someone you care about. It's literally you, which is so
Yeah.
unique for a game. Like it's like you as a child accepting that you're gonna die, and it's really powerful. And
Mhm.
another thing is how they like interweave the ferryman trying to get you into the heaven with every time you blink, it cuts to your mom telling the same, you know, story. And they interweave really well. And I really like the ending too. So, Ty?
Yeah, like you can't blink your way through it. You can't skip it. It's like one of the only things in the game that you can't accidentally skip.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
And like they saved it for the hardest hitting moment. I think
agreed.
it was well worth it.
All right.
So
I don't
we'll
have too much to say on this one. So.
Yeah, we can keep those for now, and then we'll go to. I guess we got rid of this guy. We'll go to Backbone. Game I played we're gonna cut both of these, but I'd like to give them their due. So it's interesting because this is actually a moment that people really hated. Like, this game has mixed reviews because of the ending of this game, but I personally really liked it. So it ends up being kind of like Forgotten City. The whole game is just a detective noir solving, like, you're kind of in over your head. There's a murder gone that you're just investigating some innocuous crime, and then it ends up being a murder, and then it spirals from there. But it gets to the point where it's aliens, and there's this like parasite that takes over your body, and then you just wake up in this homeless camp, because one of the earlier characters is a homeless person that your character knows, and you wake up there with this like gross like lump on your back, and you just like kind of hang out with the homeless community for a while, which I really, really liked. And then you get captured by the bad guys in this game, and they try and do some experiments on you, and you end up escaping, but you can tell the parasite is like, weighing your main character down. And then the final scene is like the villain of this game kind of just gets to keep doing what she's doing, and you just slowly walk into the wastelands and just fall over and die. And it was like so brutally like grounded, and I really liked it. I just didn't expect the game to go that way, and I could see why people get attached to characters, and they're like, there's lots of people being like in the comments like, maybe he survived. I'm like, man, sometimes you just gotta accept this game is it's a noir game. It's not gonna be like a light game. And so I liked that it was just this weird turn, and then it's just like, yeah, you're just dead now.
Right. Yeah, there are people that think that Noble Six from Halo Reach just went into a cave.
Yeah, it's called denial. A lot of people are like that with video games. Yeah. Before your eyes, no, you just blinked, and then it ended up being all right. You're back.
You blinked and you were in heaven.
You blinked and your cancer's gone.
Yeah.
But we'll get rid of that, and then a quick mention to the first time walking through Gastown in this game, because it's a game that takes place in Vancouver, and that's where we're all from. And you walk down Granville and Gastown in this game, and even though it's a fantasy world where there's some things different, like seeing the monuments and the way the buildings are set up being the same as towns or cities that we've walked through constantly, it was really cool. Like walking through Gastown, seeing the clock and seeing the buildings where the names are changed, but you're like, I know what that is. Like walking down Granville as well and seeing the Rogue Theater. I guess it's called the Rogue in this, but it's the Vogue in real life. But it was very cool walking down Vancouver streets, and I hope this game has a sequel coming out, so I hope Vancouver is explored even more, because I would have liked to see some more stuff. But we can cut that as well and get to the road for Halo Infinite, which is a Kai pick.
Yeah, no, it's just I'm more than fine striking this.
Okay.
But it is just a really fun section of the Halo Infinite campaign where I'm not going to go into like the story stuff at that point in the game, but the stakes are at their highest, and you're just in a place where you have to get into this building. There's a road ahead of you, a bunch of the banished. Here's all the weapons. Here's all the vehicles. Go ham. Just do this any way you want.
That's
so
cool.
It's not like necessarily like the Warthog run. It's more just make this whatever you want.
Right.
Run. And it's a lot of fun. You got the main theme of the game bumping in the background, which the soundtrack is fucking great. So you're just it's just fun Halo. It feels like, hey, I'm actually playing a real Halo game.
Yeah,
that was
but at the same time, it kind of
343.
emphasizes like the Halo Infinite unique aspect
like
of
world
the pure open world sandbox, as opposed to like the old school Halo weapon sandbox style.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, getting access to everything just sounds like a treat for a Halo level.
And yeah, 2 Marines. You also get 2 Marines and anything you want.
And you said you could customize them, right?
Any of the Marines you have at your FOB, you can give them any weapons you want.
Yeah, that's cool.
So like there are high value targets out in the world where when you kill them, they give you a weapon permanently, and you can just spawn any of those weapons at the FOBs infinitely. So like you can kill one high value target where he has a skewer where when you shoot it, the skewer shot explodes. So it's basically a skewer and a rocket launcher. and then you can just equip all your Marines with that. Get them to hop in the back of your Razorback and just go into an outpost and have them go ham.
That's
and
cool.
It's hilarious. And there's like a million different combinations you can use to equip your Marines with, and yeah, they're very much playing with the sandbox of like, set up your Marines the way you want. We'll set up the Banish the way we want. Go ham. Have fun.
Cool. I like that a lot.
Cool. Yeah, I'm excited to actually play the campaign and get.
I will say,
get to that.
Everybody watching this, and you guys should both go check out the Halo Infinite speedrunning community because it is hilarious.
Wild over there.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, they're discovering some shit in that game.
All right, Mining Planet, Ratchet and Clank. So this is specifically the video I have for our YouTube listeners is like hitting the purple crystal. Is that like what you want to discuss, or is it like the Mining Planet as a whole entity?
I mean, yeah, it is a pretty cool whole entity too. I just really like the dynamic of just having, when you hit the purple crystal, on one hand you have like this completely structured planet that everyone's living and working, you know, they're all just mining away and slaving away, and like you'll walk by the lunch line and you'll hear a guy yell, "Oh, my break's only lasting another 20 minutes. Come on, I gotta go." Like I've been there too. It's so relatable. And then you hit the crystal and everyone's gone, dead, obliterated. That they no longer exist, and you have to navigate, because sometimes it's easier to navigate in the destroyed planet, and then other times it's easier to navigate in the mining planet.
That's cool.
And so they use that for platforming and puzzle solving and level navigation. Again, it's just the fact that there's no loading screen.
Yeah.
And they're completely different locations in terms of look and feel. Like, it doesn't even feel like the same place anymore once you're in the destroyed world.
Yeah, Ratchet and Clank seems like that's where I'm like, oh man, games are gonna be like this soon. No more elevator loading areas, you know.
Oh, you were sliding down a slope and all of a sudden the game freezes and there's a little circle in the corner. I wonder what that was about.
But what do you think for this, Kai?
I think we can strike it.
Okay.
But I still think it's a highlight of that game in terms of the levels structure. Again, once you get a PS5, I highly recommend you guys play it.
That and Returnal. Me and Ty were talking about. We really want to play.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good. I might even bring the PS5 over at some point. We can all get together
jam
and
it.
get you guys to play some Returnal. Yeah.
And then I'm sure this will be a cut too, but quickly talk about like the repulsor, like ledging someone out or ledging multiple people out in multiplayer is great, or even like, you know, returning a rocket or something like that. But yeah, doing this in this exact spot that's on the video is a treat to just be kind of sitting there, or even like be in a scuffle and not, you know you're losing, and then you just smash people out of the. It's definitely one of the best. That and the grappling hook obviously are some good abilities in Halo.
The repulsor is just amazing. Also, like, you can use it to double jump as well. Like, you can look down and use it, and you do a double jump, and that's hilarious. So that replaces having to do rocket jumps, which I think is a really cool way of doing that. On top of, you know, being able to pancake people and send them flying.
Yeah,
it's hilarious. It's so much fun.
I think it's a unanimous cut though.
But yeah, we can definitely cut that.
Yep.
All right,
I'm good with
and
that.
then we're on to like a pretty big one. This is Drax's arc conclusion in Guardians of the Galaxy game, which I'll vote to keep probably.
I'll vote to keep.
Yeah, hit me a lot more than I thought.
I haven't made it this far in the game, but I guess I'll vote to keep it too.
Yeah, they just build Drax up as a character very well, and you know, the like you've mentioned on the last episode, Kai, the whole enemy in this game is like the promise, essentially, like showing you your family that have passed away being back alive and like tricking your brain into that, and Drax ends up falling for that, and you have to like go into his brain and convince him that the family that he's seeing is not real, and it's just very emotionally weighty because Drax's family was like everything. It's something he talks about throughout the whole game, and then seeing him have to be, so it also made sense why he'd be the first one to like fall for the Promise's tricks, and then, you know, having him have to say goodbye again and realize that it's not real was it was very well handled. I think that what really sold the moment for me was like how serious the other crew members were, but also them like just being supportive and like all kind of taking turns being like, you know, we've all lost someone, like we're here for you, and being like, he's like, what do I have if not this? And they're all like, well, we're your family now. Like, well, we're here for you. And it's very nice, very good moment. So I would like to keep it.
Yeah, I couldn't have actually put it better myself. Like that, it's such a great fucking moment.
Yeah,
and
very good.
I think the cherry on top is that's when Drax gets his ultimate. So
True.
True.
New ability unlocked after this emotional scene where you're kind of crying and
your family's dead. Level up.
And then another one that we can cut, but I just love Lemniscate so much. Kai, we haven't really got to play this together, right? We should do a squad up for this.
We should do a squad up, but you got to play that one game together, which admittedly was really fun.
Yeah.
So I'd love to do a squad up.
Mm-hmm.
And I did get that one shot with the sniper.
That's the thing is, like, this is like a very specific moment that isn't going to happen, every game. But once you start to get good as a sniper and you build up to this final moment where you're like, okay, I think if I take out this one guy who's killed like 3 of my guys, I end up like winning this round. And then you like slow-mo, line up your shot, take him out, and then the whole game basically turns to you winning is like very satisfying. There's other stuff in that game that, you could do that with anybody, but the whole slow-mo sniper makes it very like movie quality-esque, and it's very good. But again, it's not really I don't know. Rather go for emotional stuff than hype stuff, but it's cool. So now we get to a little bit of, we actually did pretty good this time. We cut a lot, so we're down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we only have to get rid of 2 here, and I think that shouldn't be too hard. We'll probably get rid of one before your eyes moment. I could jump in here actually and kind of take why we have Donkey Stream Super Mario World on the screen right now. I can probably take the lead and say, like, personally, the beach is my favorite moment of the year. But if we're gonna keep something, and I also really like the ending, I think we should just keep the ending of Before Your Eyes.
Okay.
So I'll drop the beach scene, and then
that brings us down to 6.
That brings us down to 6. So what do we think here? Let's see where everyone's at. So Ty, what's your number 1 moment? Let's say.
My number 1 moment in gaming on this remaining list is probably going to be. Go ahead.
I was just gonna actually do your 3.
Top 3?
Yeah.
Well.
I don't have a list, by the way, so I don't remember what...
Okay, well, we can recap quickly.
Yeah, I'll read them off to you real quick, Kai. So we have the end sequence from Inscription, Baby from Resident Evil 8, Start of the Journey from Sable, the Secret Villa from Forgotten City, the ending of Before Your Eyes, and Drax's arc conclusion from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Personally, my top 3 on this list would be the Inscription end sequence, the Baby, and the Secret Villa.
Cool. Kai, what do you think? What do you like?
For me, it would probably be number 1 would probably be the Drax arc. To be honest, I think for me that was my favorite gaming moment of the year from those 6. But the other ones would be, the second one would probably be the Inscription end sequence, and then the third one would be the ending of Before Your Eyes.
Okay, my number 1 would be ending of Before Your Eyes. Oh, then it gets kind of hard. Number 2 would probably be, oh man, because I really like the Baby and I really like the end sequence of Inscription. It's down and Drax's arc. I think if I had to, I would do number 1 Before Your Eyes, number 2 end sequence of Inscription, number 3 Baby.
Well, here's what I'm noticing. Here's what I'm noticing. None of us brought up the Start of the Journey in Sable.
Yeah, so Sable can go. Very good moment,
so
but
it feels like Sable's getting cut.
By Sable. So we're down to our 5. So now we kind of just have to figure out what was the common denominator there. It seemed like we all like Baby and Inscription, right? Mm-hmm. And then me and Kai like Before Your Eyes.
Like Before Your Eyes. You and Kai like Drax. Yeah. I haven't gotten to Drax yet, so I don't really have a place to weigh in.
So I think that puts Secret Villa in the honorable mentions.
Yeah, in the bottom of this top 5 for sure.
Yeah, so we'll just move that down to 5. Still a great moment.
I'm sure it would be higher if I played it.
And then we have to decide on 1, 2, and 3 here.
All right, here's my hot take for you guys, and I'm sure that you guys are both going to yell at me for this. The ending of Before Your Eyes did nothing for me. The entire game did almost nothing for me. The best part of this game was the unique mechanic of it. Like the blinking mechanic I thought was really interesting, and I thought it was well utilized, but emotionally speaking, this game didn't hit me as hard as it did either of you two. So
yeah, that's good to incorporate, and I understand that. But like
just speaking my piece.
yeah, of course, and that's good.
Yeah,
That
'cause
definitely
I
brings it
can
down
understand.
a little bit, but like it's also my 1 and Kai's 2, so it's gotta be top 3, I think, for sure. I just don't.
But
know
like,
where.
is there? Neither of you would argue it above Drax's arc conclusion, right?
Oh, I would.
The ending of Before Your Eyes. Okay.
I like Before Your
Oh
Eyes.
no,
better,
no, sorry. Yeah, no, I would put Drax's art conclusion above
and
Before Your Eyes.
I would put Before Your Eyes above
okay.
Drax's arc
Well,
conclusion.
It's all jumbled then. We had a
It's
whole
all
mix of
jumbled
opinions.
then.
Yeah, we're gonna have to make some decisions here because Kai's we all 3 have Baby and Inscription. I think honestly, unfortunately, because Drax's arc is 4 and Ty didn't even play it, I think Drax's arc has to be 4. But it's your number 1, so if you want to fight for it to be top 3, just the way that if we're going just by,
I would be happy with it being number 3 at the very least.
okay,
That's where I'd be.
Would you be happy with that if it meant putting Before Your Eyes in 4th?
I wouldn't.
I'd-
I wouldn't.
Okay.
That's why this gets
Yeah,
tricky.
Well, yeah, but
Yeah.
Inscription and Baby are would those be in your top 3?
I'm
or
okay
no?
with
I'm okay with Baby getting bumped.
Baby's not in my
Okay.
top 3.
Yeah.
Okay,
personally,
Baby was my number 3, but I would, since Drax is number 1 for Kai, I would be fine with Baby being number 4.
Yeah.
It's not like it's awesome, but again, this is the
Like if you want to
negligible
put Before Your
difference.
Eyes higher,
Yeah.
then that's fine. Just
So-
take out the Baby.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you're okay with Guardians being 3,
Yeah,
and
I'm
then
good
end
with that.
sequence 1 and Before Your Eyes 2? Is
Yep.
that
I'm good with that.
Cool.
Yep.
so? We have gold we like Inscription in this chat, man.
It's true. We really do. I'm glad Kai
We're-
likes it as
we're-
much as we both do.
Yeah.
as
We're
well.
not biased.
Yeah.
Not in the slightest.
I mean,
Kai,
that's the
definitely-
point. We gotta be
Definitely get around to
just gonna check the
playing
pictures, yeah.
the previous Daniel Mullins game, Pony Island.
Yeah,
at some
Pony
point.
Island
It's
is
usually
great.
like
Yeah,
75 cents
I've
on Steam. It's really cheap.
Oh, we ended
I've
up
heard
with.
they're pretty good.
Oh no, we didn't. There we go. Okay, yeah. So for best moment, we ended up with number 1, the end sequence from Inscription. Number 2, the ending from Before Your Eyes. Number 3, Drax's arc culmination, Guardians of the Galaxy. Honorable mentions to the Baby in Resident Evil 8 and the Secret Villa in Forgotten City.
I'm
Hooray!
very happy with
We
that.
did it.
Yeah.
One down,
That's
team.
good.
That was pretty good. That
Yeah.
was less than an hour. And
Only
plus
4
setup.
more
That was probably
categories to go.
That was probably 40 minutes for that one category, which is not bad. And that one seems like the one that's gonna be the one we're gonna talk about the most.
All right.
Personally, best mechanic maybe, but I think most unique we'll get through pretty quick.
Should we get moving on into best mechanic?
Yeah,
then?
let's just do it.
Let's go.
Woohoo.
Best mechanic. Quickly read these out. So this is essentially a list of our favorite mechanics in the games that came out this year. So whether it be the way a level works or the way a piece of equipment works, ability, anything like that, we'll talk about it on this list. And I will very quickly read off our list here. So we have the blinking from Before Your Eyes, terminals from GTFO, the scout from GTFO, the glider bike from Sable, the magic system in Wildermyth, Juliana hunting in Deathloop, the golden rule in Forgotten City, the golden bow from Forgotten City, the hook shot from Death's Door. I just wrote Echoes of the Eye. I'm just going to exclude that because, again, it's going to be complete spoilers if I talk about it. So no Echoes of the Eye today. The hint system in Inscription, late game boss mechanics in Inscription. So Act 3 bosses in Inscription. The hammer and nail from It Takes Two, the magnets from It Takes Two, going unsighted from Unsighted, looping in Lemniscate, the huddle up mechanic from Guardians of the Galaxy, all the new abilities in Halo Infinite, marine customization from Halo Infinite, the loot system in Deathloop, the topiary sprinkler from Ratchet and Clank, portals from Splitgate, and Galerius from the Forgotten City. All right, let's get going on this best mechanic. So
Beauty.
we read down the list, so we'll start with what we're gonna cut and what we're not. Before blinking before your eyes, best mechanic. What do you think?
As this game's biggest naysayer, I'll say it can stay. It's such a cool mechanic. I mean, I've never seen another game that utilizes this in this way. I don't think either of you have either.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the way the game uses it is really thoughtfully done. Like, there are scenes in the game that they clearly want you to stay in a little longer, and in those scenes they let you have a blink break. They give you a point where you can look at, and as long as you're focusing on the thing that's happening in the scene and you blink on that point, you stay in the scene, and you cause an effect to happen. And it's a really cute way to like have this idea of every time you blink, time jumps forward, but also let you actually sit and savor some moments that they want to focus on.
Yeah, it was very eloquently crafted, and the fact that you kind of revisit those memories like in the second half of the game allows you to I realized that even though probably the three of us did the stay here thing on the first try, I realized that you go back to that moment in the second half, and if you missed that, you could it gives you another opportunity to kind of complete that. But as this is my second favorite game of the year, I want to also kind of play devil's advocate for you guys too, because you did say it didn't work very well for you guys. Like you had a couple like I still want to keep it right now, but for me it worked flawlessly. But I can't deny like your guys' experience. This is our podcast, so the fact that it was a little bit finicky for you also is something to consider.
Yeah, I don't know.
I had to recalibrate like 15 times over the course of my playthrough.
I did not, which probably also, is the reason why it resonated so well with me. It definitely would hamper your experience to have technological in an hour and a half game.
Yeah, I had to recalibrate pretty often, but I'll say honestly the biggest thing that did for me is like you need to have that recalibrate button there. It's just you hit the space bar and you can recalibrate. It's necessary, but also I will say once I kind of realized that was there, it took some of the stakes of the scene away, because I realized like, I can just hit the space bar and open up the recalibration thing and pause time and think about what I was doing. But
yeah,
that didn't really come up in my playthrough too much, but it did take a little bit of emotional weight away from things, fair. I think. And yeah, as far as actual issues go for the before your eyes blinking mechanic, I'd say that the worst it was there were a few times where I would do something innocuous, like I would scratch my chin or something like that, and it would register it as a blink, and I would be like, oh, what just happened? And a little confusedly like be pushed into the next scene without really knowing what just happened.
Right.
Yeah, I had things like that. Like I swear, like I would just sit there, stare at my camera, not blink, and it would go. And then there would be other times where I'd blink, and I'm like, what the fuck? I'm blinking. Come on, man. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know whether to chalk that up to my camera, the lighting, the game. It's so hard to know like what was actually wrong.
Yeah, it's worth considering. But again, like Ty said, I think it's such a unique mechanic and such a incredible idea to implement that as well. Like not only just to have blinking be a thing, but also to tell a story about how memories are fleeting is really, really, really cool.
Yeah, really, really cleverly done. They had an idea for a mechanic and they executed it wonderfully.
Yeah. So yeah, let's keep that for now, and then we'll move on to GTFO, the terminals. Essentially, the terminals in GTFO are kind of like little computers that you can interact with and then ping things on the map or search for, like you can query for everything that exists on the map. And it's just a cool little system. You can have your friends like going around and the ping like happens in game and they're like, oh yeah, it's over here. And having a little computer that you can type on and do little light like data searching is cool in a multiplayer game.
It's very reminiscent. It's very reminiscent of Vampire: The Bloodlines Masquerade, and that.
There's something like that in there.
Yeah. Oh, the hacking in that game is great because you have to type in everything and type in words. And
yeah,
it makes you feel like Mr. Robot.
That's cool. Yeah, the terminals also get. I know that we, as a unit, have only played a couple, but the terminals get to a point where there's some really interesting, like, someone will be on the computer while the horde's coming, and the players who aren't on the computer are the only ones who can see the code that the player on the computer has to enter. Like, he reads off letters, and they have to, like, basically unsolve what that word is and then feed that back to him while they're killing a bunch of zombies and there's a bunch of action going on. It gets really a lot more interesting.
Cool.
But I do vote to cut it. I don't think it's the best.
Yeah, I'd also vote to cut it. I think it's pretty interesting. I think it only really works in the form that it is in a game like GTFO that's so claustrophobic and dark and spooky, and then having you forcing you to interface with like a straight up like basic computer monitor to like make progress and figure out where the hell you're supposed to be going is a really, really cool way to do it.
Agreed. But yeah, we'll cut that and we'll move on to the Scout from GTFO, which is an enemy that is completely terrifying. It's one of the only enemies that moves around, and it has these tendrils that come out from the top of it when it's searching, and if even the slightest bit of that tendril touches you, it lets out this giant scream and calls like all of the horde on the map to come. It's like the end runner of the game. And luckily when we played together, we ended up taking them down without that happening. But man, it brings up the the tension so much, because if you do startle those, like, you're in for a treat. So dancing around those is, yeah.
I feel like GTFO is almost like a game that's just perfect to go into as 4 people knowing nothing about how to navigate the game's world. And I feel like the fact that we went in as a group, and it was my first time playing the game anyway, and you had already you knew what this creature was, and kind of gave me a warning, like, hey, if you get touched by that thing, this mission ain't gonna go so well. Like, maybe takes a bit away from it, but still, I think it's a really cool enemy. I think it's really terrifying the way it looks and its design, as it like stretches its little tentacles out towards you, and like you're not quite sure how far it can reach.
And you have to like find your way into a corner while they're slowly like creeping towards you, and be like, "Hey, don't touch me!" But yeah, again, think we're cutting that. Kai, you think cutting?
Yeah, I'm good with cutting, but it does provide really good tension in that game, in a game that's already very tense.
Yeah. Okay, the glider bike in Sable. I honestly don't know why this is on this list. I love Sable. It's one of my favorite games of the year, but the glider bike is kind of jank. I mean, I guess that attributes to some of its charm, but man, it for me, it like bounces off hills so frequently.
It's not just you. That's just how the game works.
Yeah.
I think you're the one who added it to this list, so I'm not
might
sure.
have. I don't
I'm
know.
not sure exactly what it was that you saw in this glider. I'll say that the glider bike is a wonderful companion for your little. So like, it's the closest thing to a companion you get on this journey in Sable, I feel like.
True.
And I don't know. It's nice, but I don't know if I have any like real attachment to it. And then as far as a mechanic goes, it's essentially just a vehicle. Like, it's a little jank sometimes, but at the end of the day, it's a hover bike from Star Wars that you fly around the desert.
Yeah.
You can customize it.
Mechanically, it sounds very reminiscent of the motorbike from Days Gone.
No.
It's just like your personal vehicle you just get kind of attached to over the entire game.
Yes and no.
It is just a vehicle.
Yes, in that sense, but no in the sense that you have to worry about gassing it up and repairing it all the time.
Yeah, it's just there's no
nothing like that.
I like in that game.
But you actually bring up a good point, which I think lends it to more to best character than best mechanic, because mechanically it's not super interesting, but it does have a lot of personality. Like the noises it makes almost feel like, you know, human-esque, and you know, the customization and stuff, and the ability to call it like a horse in Red Dead is cool. But yeah, as a mechanic, it's literally just like, you know, a vehicle. But,
and yeah, you are on the nose with calling it like a horse in Red Dead. You literally whistle for it, and your bike comes skirting around the corner.
Magic system in Wildermyth. This is a tie.
Yeah, this is definitely a me. So Wildermyth, for anyone who doesn't know, is a tile-based, grid-based tactics RPG, gameplay-wise. And the way the magic system works is pretty interesting. It's your classic split up, in as any fantasy game will be, of warriors, rogues, and mages. And the mages don't actually get any direct spells they can cast in this game. The way the magic works is they have to, I forget exactly what they call it, but they have to bind with an inanimate object in the world. And based on what inanimate object you bind with, you get different powers that you can use to manipulate that object. So the simplest example would be if there's a rock and you bind with that rock on the ground, you can whip it like a little discus and throw it at people and bounce it off of enemies' heads. Or if there's, and then the way you build your mage is like into different trees of different types of things you bind with, which sounds confusing, but it is simple in the game. So like you could build towards binding to inanimate objects and get better at like warping wood into different shapes. Or you could build towards binding with fire and learn how to do a bunch of cool stuff if you bind with a torch or a candle. Or you could build towards binding with animate objects like plants and trees and stuff, and learn how to like call roots up from the ground to tangle people's feet and like do all this classic D&D stuff. And Wildermyth's just a really fun game, and I felt like the magic system was by far the most interesting part of its actual tile-based, grid-based combat. And yeah, it was just really satisfying. Anytime you think of a clever solution to a combat scenario using the mage, I felt it was just like a ton of fun.
It sounds, you want to keep it? It sounds very interesting.
I'll keep it for now, yeah.
Sounds like, you know, that is something as a mechanic that has a lot of depth compared to what probably a lot of the stuff on this list. So let's keep that for now. And then we'll move on to Juliana hunting in Deathloop. So kind of what we talked about for best moment. This is like how Juliana works as a mechanic. I guess again you could probably argue like either side, like Juliana, you hunting as Juliana or being hunted by her, just brings a lot of tension to this game, and the way you can get different power ups from her if you kill her like makes it a lot more rewarding. And it's just very cleverly implemented. Like it shuts down your exit, so you can't just sprint and leave the level when she gets there. It's like, hey, you're locked in this arena now with this character, and you have to someone's gonna die. You got to duel to the death, and it's definitely balanced in favor of Colt, but that is probably for the benefit. I could see it being a lot more frustrating if Juliana was on an even playing field with Colt, as you know, you lose runs if you die as Colt. So, but like you said, Kai, it makes it a lot more rewarding when you get a kill with Juliana because you know how imbalanced it is towards Colt. But yeah, you want to touch on this as well?
Yeah, no. It's the mechanic of the game that for me stops it from being completely forgettable.
Yeah.
If it weren't for the PvP content of Colt versus Juliana, I think the game as a whole would just be very, very average. Very mediocre. It already kind of is leaning more towards that for me the more time I spend away from that game. Like I'm still in favor of striking it. I'm okay with
I'm fine with striking it too.
But again, like you said, it adds a lot of tension. It in terms of the functionality, you really do have to fight each other to the death. No one's gonna cheese the other. You're gonna have to fight it out.
Yep.
And you all have your powers and your own weapon loadouts, and Juliana has her own customizable loadout. That's a lot of fun, and you can make her your
kind of
own.
Interesting to hear that there's no real cheese involved in that, because I kind of assumed going in, like having not really played too much Deathloop myself, that part of the appeal to playing as Juliana is understanding the levels and understanding where Colt's probably going and laying traps or like doing level-based kind of shenanigans. But that was kind of what I thought the mechanic would be based around.
You're definitely right. I'd say it's less cheese that way though, because it's like it comes from an understanding of the game as opposed to like doing a strategy that I don't know is doesn't seem like it was
running out of the tunnel as soon as the PvP starts.
Yeah,
like something like what Chase mentioned. Like it's very
waiting at the bonfire when there's an invader in Dark Souls and just waiting for them there.
That's the one. The one downside I will say about that is as Colt, I feel like if you really didn't want to engage with her, you could just wait and stealth in a corner forever until she leaves. But like, I didn't personally encounter that. I mean, like I didn't play a lot as Juliana, but I didn't personally encounter people doing that. But you could definitely. I feel like they could have added something that's like if you're just standing still in the game, it maybe puts a waypoint over Colt, and maybe they do. I don't know, but yeah. Again, we caught it. It brings that game up a lot. But
fair enough.
And I was gonna say the network connectivity.
Oh yeah, that right. I forgot about that. That
it kind of kills the mechanic at a lot.
It does.
Points.
Well, that sounds, with that comment on top, that sounds like it's definitely a strike.
Yeah, it was.
But the network connectivity alone makes it a strike for me. It can be really fucking bad.
Yeah, my like second match, just like you were telling me about that, and then my second match was like unplayably, like I just got destroyed with glitching around the map. But yeah, let's move on. Forgotten City.
I think we can do this talk about Forgotten City with no spoilers.
We definitely can.
Yeah, so no spoilers. Kai can stay in the conversation. Should we talk about the golden rule first?
Yeah, let's talk about the golden rule first.
Kai, do you know what the golden rule is?
No.
Okay, so the Forgotten City is a game that takes place in an ancient Roman town, and that is the second time I'm saying this on this one podcast episode. So there's put a point on the bingo card. But basically, this town lives in fear under threat of the golden rule, and the golden rule is the sins of the many, or the many shall suffer for the sins of the one. And they don't really know exactly what that means, but they're all terrified of it. And they all take it to mean that if anyone in this town ever commits a sin, that they will all die. They'll all be punished and sent to hell forever, as is their Roman belief. And their individual ideas of what constitutes a sin kind of makes up a lot of the fun of that game, I think, is kind of trying to decipher early on, like, what can I get away with in this place and what is actually a no-no?
Yeah, kind of it contributes to what the whole game's about. Is like, this God that implemented this rule clearly has a warped view of what a sin is, because there's things that happen throughout the game where you're like, that seems like that should be a sin, and then there's stuff that you do and you're like, that's a sin, like what?
The characters even call it out in the game, where there's a lot going on with this mechanic or this idea in the game. Like the simplest one to talk about is the gay guy in town, who is being harassed by someone else in town. They're writing graffiti up on his shop wall. They're threatening to kill him daily. Like, this guy's having a hard time because someone else in this town believes that homosexuality counts as a sin, and he's going to get us all killed.
Yeah, and then he's not breaking any rules by causing harm
existing.
To this person. Yeah. There is a lot of stuff like that where it's which is interesting. So I don't know. What do you think, Ty?
I think as far as mechanically, I'm good with cutting it.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about it from a story perspective is pretty interesting. Talking about it from a strictly mechanical one is like, it is interesting, but I've seen other games facilitate time loops in interesting ways before too. And at the end of the day, it is just the way that the time loop works.
Yeah. I think we could, the golden bow, I don't even really know if we'll very quickly talk about this. I think this is a strike. But
actually, I'd love to talk about this one a little bit because it's kind of cute there for anyone who's actually played the original Forgotten City mod. The golden bow in that game in that mod is a little bit more ridiculous because the game obviously was originally a Skyrim mod, and in the Skyrim mod, when you found that bow, it was just an instant kill bow that killed anything you shot at it, which was pretty not transitioning that into the actual Forgotten City into a bow that turns things to gold is pretty cool. And Kai, like, not really spoilery at all to talk about this. Like, you'll see very early on in the game, there's some vines that look like, oh, I could probably climb those. And if you go up to the vines, it'll say, you can probably climb those somehow. But you don't really know how to do that. And then eventually you get a weapon that anything you shoot turns to solid gold. And you're like, well, these are a lot easier to climb if they're made of metal.
Yeah, it's basically like your solution to platforming in that game. It's like, oh, I can turn this.
Early on, you can't really do much platforming wise. But later on, like, there are sections where you're just turning different materials to gold and using your Midas touch to traverse the environment.
Yeah, it's cool to see like the things turning to gold, but I do wish there was more than just. It's essentially just vines and things in the water that you can jump on by turning things to gold. But it is cool. But we can strike that.
Cool.
Hook shot in Death's Door.
I'm fine with striking this one. I think I'm the biggest Death's Door lover in this chat. I don't think Kai's even played it yet. But the hook shot from Death's Door is really satisfying. It works exactly like I want a hook shot in an OG old school Zelda-like game to function. It pulls enemies to you. It pulls you to enemies. It darts you around the map very quickly. There's some fun platforming traversal sections with it, little bonus areas to get optional rewards. And it's just a really satisfying tool from a bygone era of games where a grappling hook was the coolest thing you could ever unlock.
Yeah, it's just worth talking about hook shots always because they're always good.
They're always good.
It feels really good in Death's Door, and Death's Door is on my personal top 10, but I think it's probably higher for you. But I did really like it, and the hook shot was my favorite aspect of it. But we can cut that. It's just a good hook shot. Then we move on to Inscription. We got a couple here. There we go. Jeez, small image. So we got the hint system in Inscription. I don't know if it's fair to. I wanted to pass this one over to Kai, but I don't know how. Kai, how much of the hint system did you feel when you were playing Inscription?
Like, there's a lot of hints in there that are great, and a lot that I blatantly ignored. There are some where they're like just hidden enough where it's plausible to miss.
Yeah.
But also very plausible for someone to catch.
Well, that was something we realized watching you play, is there was hints that we didn't see that you saw, and we thought that was cool. That it kind of like if you aren't getting to the next logical progression in the game quick enough, it slowly like drops more and more like, hey, do this. To the point. The
big example when I was watching you play, Kai, was and this is full spoilers for Inscription, so if we want to put a timestamp for that, go ahead, but you were still in Act 1 and you got a vision from Magnificus the Wizard of him like painting at and like his little slime dude and his like little wizard dude, and there was some dialogue there that kind of told you to go and free the caged wolf because you weren't figuring out that you had to let the caged wolf die in Act 1 was what you were stuck on. But neither of us got any of that. We didn't know that PO3 or Magnificus existed. We had no hint about that. I never met the slime guy in Act 1. Like, none of that happened at all in Act 1.
Oh, you didn't meet the slime guy in Act 1?
No, not at all.
I did.
Wow.
Yeah,
I'm surprised.
The only reference in my Act 1 to PO3 or any of them were their cards, like the Stoat. And that was all I ever saw. But then watching you play, you got a straight up vision from this wizard character, and I was like, "What is? How have you? Did you play like half the game while I looked away? Like, I had no clue." But yeah, it's just Inscription dynamically adjusting to how long it's taking you to get to a certain discovery, and putting a little hint in your way so that you're like, "Hey, maybe I'll go do this next."
I appreciate that a hell of a lot more now because there's actually more content to find if you stick around for long.
Yeah, exactly.
Little addendum here. The Stoat is PO3 and the Stinkbug is Grimora. Who is the stunted wolf supposed to be? Is it
Magnificus?
Oh, it is?
Yeah,
Magnificus.
The other two talk about how they don't want to free him from the cage because he's like dangerous and they're worried about him.
Right. I just like you can see the like the facial changes in the other two. I don't know if you get that with the stunted wolf by the end of Act 1. Maybe you do if you...
I will say, I don't know if you guys ever caught on to this, but the actual images on the cards of the Stoat, the wolf, and the Stinkbug change sometimes.
Yeah.
Did you notice
what
that?
I'm saying. Yeah, like
they look, they
resemble...
Okay. Yeah, the Stoat has a
basically
square
speak-
face at one point where it's like, okay, you're clearly a robot.
The Stinkbug looks
Has
like
the makeup,
Grimora by the end as well. That's what I was saying. The stunted wolf to me didn't get to that, so I didn't realize who it was.
Well, the stunted wolf did have one eye missing, is one thing.
Oh,
and Magnificus's
shit.
eye is in the chest with...
right.
Yeah.
Smart.
So that's at least one thing. I'm not sure if he ever gets like a wizard beard or anything like that, but...
Yeah,
maybe.
I once had the Stoat get jacked. He just looked jacked. Like he just lifted 3,000 pounds just over there and just came back from it.
Do we want to keep this? Or cut it?
I'd rather keep the next thing on the list, so I want to cut this one.
Kai?
Sure, we can cut it.
Okay.
We can cut it. I love it. But...
And then the next thing on the list being the late game...
Keep on this here.
The late game boss mechanics.
So it'll be like Act 3 bosses. All the Act 3 bosses.
Yeah. I'm perfectly okay keeping it.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Great.
That's what makes Act 3.
Which was your favorite, Kai?
Yeah, what was your guys' favorite?
The web. The web is my favorite. The one where
like
you make a card, you upload it to the internet, send it to someone else's game.
That was great.
Yeah, that was great.
I'm not sure exactly how that segment works because when I played it, I don't think I ever actually found another player's card to download.
So I know how it works.
Okay.
The only way it sends to another player is if there's another player physically playing that same moment at the same time.
Okay.
It'll send them to him, which is more common than you think still, especially but I played the game like at 3 a.m, so I didn't get that either.
Right.
But being in the Inscription Discord, a lot of people are explaining that it has to be
I lost the fight a few times, so I did it a few times over. And like almost every time I got my card sent up to somebody.
Oh, that's
There was only one time of like the 3-4 attempts where my card didn't get sent up.
That's
So I know it happens both ways.
I think I only attempted it twice, and I think both times I
too.
didn't actually find anyone. But I will say my favorite of them was by far the one asking for your chunkiest files.
Yes, mine too.
I loved that boss so much. And I got to watch Kai play it on stream, which was wonderful.
Yeah.
With
Deep Rock saved the day.
Yeah, Deep Rock saved the day once again. Like asking for a big file was already like, okay, he's like asking to go through my file directory and find something with like a few gigs to it. That's pretty cute. And then after that, he asks you for your most precious, oldest file, something that's near and dear to your heart. So I went through and I forget what I actually found, but I found something that's been in there for years and years. And then he immediately threatens you after you pick a file and says, well, if that card dies, I'm going to delete that file from your PC. And I assume that he actually does do that.
No, the beautiful thing about it is, because that would be super illegal.
Yeah, okay.
But the beautiful thing about it is if you lose that fight, he says, you should do the honorable thing and delete that from your system. He's like, I'm not actually going to delete it, but you should delete it yourself because you lost. And I'm like, fuck yeah, that's so good.
Yeah, I love this game.
Yeah.
And those Act 3 bosses are definitely the most interesting content in the game, I think.
And also something funny I noticed was that Act 3 is still laid out the same as Act 2.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys
right.
noticed, but
no, I didn't notice that until recently in the chat too.
Cool.
That they're like, you're talking about like PO3's like layout of his
the map. Yeah, it's the same
game.
as the World 2 layout. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, description. Yeah, we're keeping that. We'll move on.
Yeah, we're keeping that. That Act 3 is just so fucking good.
Yeah. Agreed. We'll move on to the It Takes Two nominees. The Hammer and Nail, which is the first mechanic in the game.
I vote to strike, but you guys go ahead.
Yeah, I also vote to strike. I just thought it was a very, very strong start mechanically. Like,
it is a great first mechanic for
Yeah.
that game.
Yep.
But we can strike it.
gameplay wise and like story wise, you know.
You guys
they're-
both played the Cody side, right?
Yes. I've only
No,
played Cody.
I was May.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Yeah, I was May. Who are you?
I was May.
Yeah.
Which I felt like my power was a little less interesting, just hammering stuff and breaking glass bottles out of the way,
Agreed.
whereas Cody got to like pin things to walls and
Yeah.
actually aim his nail around. But then later in the game, like
They switch
the
it up
script
enough.
flips so
Yeah.
often, like you're so frequently both getting like a new, cool, unique
Yeah.
power that I've forgotten it already. But
It also adds to the replayability to be able to do, you know,
yeah, to do both sides. Of it.
asymmetrical
Yeah, it goes-
mechanics like that is very
Yeah.
cool.
But
But
Ty, I think we should play one where we're the.
I'm down. Yeah, if you want to switch it up and play the other way around.
magnets in It Takes Two. So Ty hasn't quite gotten to this part yet, but essentially in the snow level, which is honestly the skating itself is fucking phenomenal in that game. But the magnets, there's just like you would have a negative magnet, I would have a positive magnet, and you
Okay.
would do things in the environment to like push and pull to like interact with the world. And I thought that was very mechanically sound as well. It was very cool to see what you could do with the magnets, and gain some momentum as well by like pulling onto something and slinging yourself forward. But
You can also attach each other as well.
attached to each other, yeah, exactly. But
I
I
feel like some groups that play that game would just hold on to each other permanently.
yeah, all the time. But yeah, I'm okay with striking this. Kai, what do you think? Do you like this mechanic enough to keep it, or
I mean, like if we were keeping anything from It Takes Two, it would probably be the magnets.
sure?
for me,
That's totally fine. I like it enough to, we haven't kept a lot yet, so let's just keep that for now
Sure.
and see if it winds up staying. Going unsighted from unsighted. So
You'll have to explain this one to
Yes,
me a little bit.
I will.
I know the concept of the game, but I don't know what going unsighted means.
Kai, do you know anything about Unsighted? So I'll start with just a brief
summary.
explanation of the game. So Unsighted is a Metroidvania, like top-down Metroidvania, where you play a cyborg, or like an AI, like you're completely robotic android. Android's the right word. In a town of like misfit toy androids, like the world is kind of gone to shit, and all of these androids who have kind of stowed away from the humans who are like taking over and have destroyed all the androids are like the last bastion for survival for this species, this race. And there's a bunch of all the enemies in the game are also androids, but they've gone unsighted. And so what unsighted is in this game is when they've lost a certain amount of energy, they no longer can retain their like self-awareness, like their sentience, so they go unsighted and they become like just starving for energy and get aggressive and that stuff. And every character in the game, every NPC, including yourself, has a timer above their character that is like, you have this amount of time with this character, and once that time runs out, they go unsighted. Every NPC. So like the guy in the blacksmith has that. The person who upgrades your upgrade tree has that. Like all the characters you care about, like for story reasons, all have that. And when you die, it reduces the timer. And so you have to find these little pieces of energy throughout the map, and you can give it to either yourself or other people that you care about, and it extends their time. And so throughout the game, you slowly see these characters going unsighted that you care about, and you have to pick and choose which ones. Like the blacksmith will be like, I have this weapon that's going to take me like 20 hours. I don't know if I'm going to get in time to make this like really cool thing. You better like help me out. And like other characters who just like for personal reasons, like you're trying to save them, but also if you die, it deletes your save. Like if your character, you run out of time, so you have to continuously like add to yourself and make sure you
I didn't know
don't
that.
run out
I didn't
as
know
well.
it deleted your save
So
if
it
you ran
just
out of time.
adds a lot of like depth and like tension to the things that you're doing. I think it's a really cool mechanic. I would say honestly to keep it for now, even though I'm only 5 hours into this game. Like the potential of that alone is so interesting, and you can it's something you can turn off if it's something that stresses you out too much. But I love the stakes of that. Like that is That's
But
a lot.
also, those stakes are probably why you only have 5 hours in it so far.
It's true. Like, unfortunately, for my personal experience, I got very lost map wise and can't really find a way to progress right now. So I am getting frustrated when the time's running out, and it's not because of something that I find like contributes to me advancing the game. Like, I'm just running around looking for where to go, and I can't figure out where to go. So it's getting to the point where it's like frustrating for me now. But I still think it's interesting, and that might just be my personal like inability to find where the fuck to go.
So by going unsighted as a mechanic, you just mean the timers in general?
Yeah, I think that all of the characters having those timers is what I would say
I'm
for that.
down with keeping that for sure.
Looping in Lemniscate. Yeah, I think we can cut this, but it's just done very well. Like, when you set up, because you have 6 turns to loop through the game with 6 different characters, and it's very, very satisfying to like be like think 3 turns ahead and be like, this is what I'm gonna do with these characters to get to this point, and then have that come to fruition is very rewarding. But it's just a time loop done really well in a multiplayer game. Mechanically, it's great, but I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can cut it.
Must have been a hell of a design journey to get this
For
game
real.
to the point that it's in now, honestly.
Thinking about all the how each character works in a time loop like that, but
much more unique than Deathloop.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Huddle Up, Guardians of the Galaxy. Kai, you take the reins on this one.
Haha, I love Huddle Up.
Yeah,
so so basically, when you do enough shooting things and killing things and beating things up, you'll fill up your meter, and you can do, by pressing both of the bumpers at the same time, you can do a Huddle Up, which Star-Lord takes out his mixtape. Yeah, and he's like, everyone huddle up. And depending on how the fight is going, whether you're losing the fight or winning the fight, the dialogue changes. So if you're losing the fight, your team will be talking about like, oh, we're getting our ass kicked. We look like amateurs out there. And if you're winning, your team will be very cocky. Like, we got this. We don't even have to worry about anything. We're the fucking best. And you essentially have to listen to what they're saying and what their moods are like, and pick the right dialogue decision for Peter to rally the team together, either to pump them up and make your team realize they're much better than what they're saying they are, or by cooling everyone's jets and being like, hey, I know we're awesome, but we got to take this seriously. And if you get the dialogue option right, all your characters' cooldowns reset, your cooldowns reset, your health bar refills, and you get to listen to a random song from the game's playlist in the middle of combat. So you could do that and get Never Gonna Give You Up. And next thing you know, you're fighting a bunch of jellies to Rick Astley, on top of having all of your abilities just ready to go, so you can do some massive damage.
I think the cooldowns also reduce. Like, I felt like I was spamming them a lot more frequently when you're in the huddle. Like, I don't know if that's
that's a thing either, but it wouldn't surprise me. Like,
but yeah, I definitely had a lot of like laugh out loud. There's like giggling moments when like Take On Me was playing in this big fight and just spamming all these abilities after the Huddle Up. I think the Huddle Up itself is it's very easy to tell which dialogue option to choose, but the fun of it is seeing the characters come up and like have this dialogue exchange, and you be like, guys, cool your jets, like we can't get too carried away, we're not out of this yet, and then them all be like, let's go, and then the song just starts playing.
Yeah. And again, it helps contribute in terms of the story to feeling like the team leader.
Yeah,
that you're the one you're the glue that keeps everyone together.
Mm-hmm.
It really helps contribute to that inside of the gameplay and not just in the story itself.
I
vote to keep.
Sure.
It's the game's
from
most
what I'm
unique
hearing,
mechanic, and I'll keep it.
Cool. Let's keep it for now. Then we go to the abilities in Halo Infinite. So I guess that's just the grappling hook, the repulsor, the shield, and what am I missing? The radar. Is one more?
There's the threats. Well, we could just go with what's in the campaign for now, because the repulsor's not in the campaign, but we can kind of include it in this list as well. I don't mind. But essentially, yeah, it's just fun abilities for Master Chief to use and for you as the player to use, and your traversal of Halo Infinite's world.
Yeah.
Like using the grappling hook is so much fun. You can turn Master Chief into Spider-Man, and it adds so much more engagement when I'm actually exploring the world. Like I think a big problem with like your Ubisoft open world games and why people get so bored of them so quickly is because the traversal from one thing to another is very boring.
Oh yeah.
Like you do nothing. It's basically a giant loading screen, except you're just flying a plane. Well, with the grappling hook, you're like, okay, I'm gonna grapple to this point here so that I can launch myself over here and grapple onto this point here so that I can get myself up to here and get myself to the location I want to get to. It's nice, it's quick, and it keeps the player engaged in the actual movement system. On top of having combat benefits, which I'll leave that for you guys.
On top of having speedrunning benefits,
Yeah, I
you
was gonna-
fly
And
at
very
2,000
speedrunning
kilometers an
benefits,
hour.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That game's physics is hilarious.
Yeah, the grappling hook, it just like, yeah, it seems like it covers all three areas, or I mean, both portions of the game very well. Like you talk about how good it is in the campaign, and then for me and Ty, who've played a lot of the multiplayer, like the fact that you can grapple guns and the flag and all that stuff like adds so much. Like like you're trying to sprint to the power weapons, and someone's just about to get there before you, and you just grapple the rocket launcher to you instead. Like that's so sick. And then like Ty said, the speed running aspect is sick as well. Like all the stuff you can do with that. Yeah, it's
And there's also like the threat sensor and the drop wall and the thrusters, which aren't as I think creative.
Yeah, they're definitely
their base mechanics
a lot weaker.
But
I really
they are
wish they
fun,
would-
especially when you fully upgrade them in the campaign, because you can upgrade your abilities.
That's cool.
in the
Yeah.
campaign. And they become like the drop wall is much better in the campaign than
Okay.
it is in the multiplayer.
Okay.
The multiplayer, it's poo poo.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, like,
Carbo.
from
bad.
pretty much just playing multiplayer for Halo Infinite, like I really wish they would kind of amp up some of the other abilities that aren't the grappling hook and the repulsor to have a little bit more of that utility. Like the thruster, for example, is such an easy one to me. Like just increase that thrust a little bit, like give it a little bit of a torque improvement,
more juice.
and it would be so
and
much
that's an
fun. But
upgrade.
in its
That's an
current state,
upgrade.
in like the multiplayer, it's like a little bit of you just have a little wet fart that spits out
It's
behind
not
you, and you
great.
get boosted a little bit.
But in campaign, that actually does exist. There
Yeah.
are actually like
That's cool.
thrust
So that is
upgrades
cool,
and,
yeah.
I
like,
hope they add that to multiplayer.
and like
though.
and when you fully upgrade your gadgets, they always have something cool to spice up that
That's
that
cool.
ability. Like for the drop wall, like you've already gotten your upgrades to make it stronger and make it bigger, but where your final upgrade will add like an EMP electric field to it, so
That's
any projectiles that go through your shield to the enemy get electrified. So if you throw a frag grenade, you throw essentially an electricity frag grenade and stuff like
Cool.
that. So, or you could shoot electricity rockets. And stuff like that. So they do find ways to mix up even the kind of boring powers in the game. So then I'm not feeling like, oh, this is just a little shield. Like I could go, oh, I could throw this shield down, and now I have electric rockets, which makes that much more interesting.
Yeah,
Much more fun to play.
Let's keep that for now then.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Let's move on to the loot system in marine customization in Halo. Which we kind of touched on in the moment as well, but Kai, you can kind of expand on that a little bit.
For sure. Like I said before, you could get your high value targets out in the world, which will give you the different weapons that you can use and give to your Marines. And there's like almost like basically the entire game sandbox is unlockable at the FOB, and it's probably Halo's biggest sandbox in terms of the weapons. There's like 25 weapons or something. It's insane. It's crazy how many freaking weapons are in that game, and they all have their purpose, even in the campaign. Multiplayer, some of them are
Right.
iffy, but like the commando's amazing in campaign, but
Cool.
that's beside the point. So like you go to these high value targets, you wipe them out, and then you're essentially able to customize your Marines to whatever you want. Like I've seen people online like load them up with like pulse carbines, and that's hilarious.
Yeah.
I've loaded them up with sentinel beams, and that's hilarious. It's essentially whatever you can think of in your mind in terms of setting up your Marine squad. Like, do you want to have just 3 guys that are just on a rocket hog with you and blowing stuff up, and then when they get out, they have skewers ready to go to obliterate anything in their path? You can do that. Do you want to just go meme and just give your entire squad needlers? You could do that. You could just be as memey, cheesy, or as generic as you want the Marines to be.
I don't
Again,
suppose
it
you can
feels
give them like abilities.
no, you can't give them
A bunch of
abilities.
Marines grappling hooking around the.
No,
I was hoping.
I would love that, but that's not a thing in the game.
We gotta wait for
Uh,
co-op.
And
campaign
as the
for that.
more as you do more things out in the open world, you get like a valor experience currency, which just unlocks more stuff for you to mess with and more Marines for you to bring on your missions and mess around. So the more you play the game, the more you can mess around with it. Very rewarding.
Do you want to keep it for this list?
I'm willing to strike it.
Okay.
For as much as I love it, and it is a big selling point of the game of like, hey, you can make your Marines whatever. There are people that will just straight up skip that stuff because it's all optional. Whereas I think the abilities are just more. Everyone's going to be playing that. So.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, it is cool. I mean, customizing characters like that, like it's kind of applicable to like Mass Effect, being able to do what you want with your characters and stuff, but in an open world. And like Marines have been a staple in Halo for such a long time. It's cool to be able to throw some stuff on them.
Yeah, it very much gives that bro out feeling, that bro up feeling, where you're getting the boys together, and you're gonna go wipe out the banished, and it's just fun.
Loot system, death loop. I definitely am okay with cutting this. I think that it's kind of interesting, but to be honest, I wish the game had more weapon variety. I like that you carry over your weapons from previous runs and stuff, but it's pretty early on where you get your purples and you're like, all right, I'm kind of just good. I could carry through this game very easily, but it is cool how it works, and you have to like figure out what you want to keep till your next run by using some points to like have it carry over. But I just don't think it has too much depth to it.
No, that's ultimately why I'm more than okay striking it. Like,
Yeah.
Honestly, like I don't even think there's enough to the loot system for me to even nominate it for the best category.
Yeah, that's fair.
Honestly, like it's just
Snuck
kind
its
of
way on here.
generic. I mean, like it's cool that like you're like, oh, I'm gonna kill this visionary, and then you're done, and you have all this residium, and you're like, okay, what am I actually gonna spend my residium on? My weapons, abilities, whatever. Like that's all right, but that doesn't last long. Like you said, like there comes a point where you're like, okay, I got my cheese build.
Yeah, exactly. You get your loadout way too quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll move on to Kai. We've got the Topiary Sprinkler in Ratchet and Clank.
Yes,
Tell us
I
about
love the
this.
Topiary Sprinkler. So the Topiary, I'm more than fine striking this.
Okay.
But
Just a cool
what
weapon, right?
it's a throwable turret. Like it's a deployable turret that you could put down, and it's essentially like a little leaf sprinkler that shoots out water, and whatever enemies it hits, they turn into hedges. And they're like full hedge versions of themselves.
That's
like,
cool.
If you're fighting a T-Rex boss, you will turn that T-Rex into a hedge.
Cool.
That's cool.
And you do much more damage to whatever enemies are turned into hedges. I just had fun turning enemies into hedges.
Yeah,
Who
man.
doesn't like turning enemies
Did either
into hedges?
Did either of you guys play the previous Ratchet and Clank, the reboot?
Yep.
Kai?
It's like
I have
the-
not. I'm gonna
Yeah, there was-
retroactively play it.
You
now,
should go
though.
back to it because it's a
Yeah.
great game, but there's a lot of stuff like that in that game. Like
Yeah.
there's the shotgun in the game turns enemies into 8-bit versions of themselves.
Yeah.
There's a weapon that makes enemies dance, and all the enemies have their own unique dance moves that they bust out when you force them to dance. Like there's a lot of cute stuff in this
The
series. Like that.
Groovatron.
The Groovatron. Thank you.
I think that is it. That game, or is it Into the Nexus that had the one that turned everything into snowmen?
That's Into the Nexus.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of the
Never
games have the
played
Sheepinator that turns
Yeah.
things into sheep
Yeah.
character versions of
Ratchet and
themselves.
Clank always got the good unique weapons.
They got the
Yeah,
fun stuff.
and a Rift Apart is no
That
exception.
makes me happy to hear about.
The weapon sandbox is amazing in that game.
Cool.
Any
Like,
other standouts besides the Topiary Sprinkler?
I do love Mr. Fungi. He's just a deployable turret that
He's a
actually
fun
does
guy.
do damage, but he's a mushroom.
Not Zerk.
And
Oh, interesting.
when you fully upgrade the mushroom turret, he gets a Mrs. Fungi.
Yeah.
Wait, is
So then
Mr.
there's Mr.
Zircon in the
Mr.
game, or is it Mr. Fungi the replacement?
No,
Sounds
there's
good.
Mrs. Zircon.
Oh,
There's
Interesting.
Mrs. Zircon.
Okay.
Yeah. So you see her right away, and
That's cool.
and yeah, the game's weapon sandbox is just a lot of fun to mess around.
Yeah.
with. Like one of the best weapon sandboxes I played around with in a while. Like it literally competes with Halo for me in terms of just how creative I think it's more creative than Halo sandbox because like as much as I love Halo's like Halo Infinite's weapon sandbox, it is stuck to Halo and making it feel like Halo. Whereas like Ratchet and Clank, that series you can just go nuts with, and
Yeah.
it'll feel like Ratchet and Clank.
True. And then we got the purple crystal from Ratchet and Clank as well, which we also kind of touched on last. But yeah, Kai, you can cut,
Yeah.
strike, and then
Yeah, we kind of struck it from best moment, but I feel like it is a little bit more suited to this
mechanic. Yeah.
category.
Yeah, I think it's a keep for now. I don't know if it's gonna make top 5, but I think it's one that we can keep for, especially since we struck a lot.
So other than like jumping back and forth between the two planets, kind of to like traverse the world, is there any other like interesting ways they use that?
There's another level where they use it where when you're there normally, it's just this research facility that's still going on normally. But when you hit the crystal, it becomes like a degraded, abandoned place where there's a big giant monster hunting you down and trying to kill you.
Cool.
So they have some fun chase stuff with that monster and boss fight mechanics with the crystal and stuff like that. And it feels very like that level feels very reminiscent to Titanfall 2.
Yeah.
And it's time changing level. It feels like the mechanic in the whole game just kind of feels like that, but expanded. They looked at Titanfall 2 and were like, that should be in more games.
Yeah.
And
they were right.
And they were right. And it's a lot of fun. I don't think there's one single standout moment with it. It's just a solid mechanic that just shows off next gen gaming without it feeling like a gimmick. Where levels can completely change in without any form of loading screen whatsoever. It's all already there, ready to go, because of the SSD, and it makes me very excited to see where games could go in the future with this new technology. Hopefully we get more stuff like this from games.
Yeah, we'll keep that for now. Then we'll move on to Loop Hero and the tile interactions. So this is kind of what this game is like built around. Did I get a picture? Yes, I did. So Loop Hero is a game where you your character...
You're a hero on a loop.
Yeah, your character idly walks around these tiles, this loop of like a dungeon, essentially.
They're on a track, basically.
On a track, yeah. And you place down different tiles to help them or place more enemies to get better upgrades and stuff like that. But the ways the tiles interact with each other is really cool and not explicitly stated to you. So you have things like the cemeteries like connect to each other after you place them side by side, or if you place a one of the big first ones is if you place a vampire mansion by a village, it turns after a certain amount of time, it turns the vampire mansion into like something completely different that gives you more.
I mean, it turns the village into something different.
Yeah, it turns the village into like the worshippers of the vampire or something. But yeah, like you've got tile interactions like that where you don't figure out what's going on until you.
If I can cut in and kind of like give a good example of this mechanic, the vampire mansions I mentioned, you can put that down next to a library. And normally a vampire mansion means if you walk past that tile, you have to fight a vampire. And it's just it's a battle. You have to fight a guy. But if you put a vampire mansion next to a library, the vampire in the mansion becomes a wicked-ass, learned scholar vampire, and he invites you in to sit down with him and just have a conversation about the state of the world, and like drops a bunch of knowledge on you and gives you a bunch of lore and stuff. And I feel like that's like a really good example of how the tiles interact in ways you're not necessarily expecting.
Yeah, and there's a lot of that. Like you unlock a lot of tiles throughout the game.
Dozens.
And the way they interact with each other is very unique and very cool. What do you think, Ty?
I'm fine striking it.
Okay.
Kai, you didn't play this game?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
So I'm gonna abstain.
I'm okay striking it. I think it's gonna get struck pretty soon if we leave.
I haven't beaten it. I think if I saw more of that, I might be more inclined to keep. But
there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with it that I've already found.
We'll strike.
Yeah.
And then we go on to the portals in Splitgate.
They're portals.
Yeah, I can definitely strike this, but they just work really well. Like it's just the first. Like I don't know how there hasn't been just an FPS with portals yet. I think it's a more how good this game just plays on its own that also contributes to how well the portals work. Like this game feels like so good to play. Everything just clicks really well. It's just a very well made shooter, but the portals add a lot of fun wildness
saying,
to
if
it.
Halo Infinite wants to add a portal gun ability to
Yeah.
the game, I wouldn't be upset about that.
Yeah, you know, you see
Have
like
fun explaining that in the lore.
But yeah, the momentum you can gain from like they set up some of the maps where like you fall for a distance and can place a portal below you and then use your momentum from the other portal to launch across the map and line up some crazy snipes. That stuff is all very cool.
And
But-
every once in a while, like, you see someone duck behind cover and you just put a portal behind them and then
Yeah.
look to your left and shoot them from behind themselves. It's like a cute moment every time.
Yeah,
it
shooting
happens in the game.
people through portals is also great. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's not mechanically very different. Like it's just
It's
is
what you
just
expect it to
portals.
be.
Yeah, it works really well. It's just implemented very well.
Yeah.
And then one we missed for Forgotten City, which is Galerius, which I really like. If we were gonna keep anything from Forgotten City, but well, I think we could strike it too. But basically, Galerius is a character who we also talked about for best character. But
Yeah, I don't want to spoil too much for Kai here, but
no, we'll just say that
he's a bro.
he's a cool guy, and he just helps you in games where you have to like, because it's a time loop game, right? And so sometimes, like for instance in Deathloop, you'll have to go back and do things that you've already done, and it gets kind of tedious. And Galerius helps you not have to do those things anymore, which is
Basically, he's just, you meet him and immediately the vibe you get from him is, this is a friendly guy. He
Yeah,
just,
he's
he
gonna
just
help
wants
me
to
out.
help me out.
And
Like,
so
he's just a nice guy. And that's true. He truly is just a nice dude. And when you reset the loop, you can just go up to him and be like, look, I don't have
Do
time to
all this
explain,
stuff.
but go do this for me because I
Yeah.
know more than you. And
Yeah.
he'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll go
Yeah.
do that. And
I don't
he'll
know how
just
you
go
know this, but
replay
sure,
old
I'll go do
sections of
it.
the game for you that you've
Yeah.
already run through. And yeah, it saves a lot of time, and they tie it into the story and the other things going on in the game really well. Like, he's just a fun mechanic. I think that's the last one on our list, and
Yeah.
it looks like we're striking it. But there is actually an honorable mention I wanted to throw out. From a game I have not even played, but there's a game that you guys may or may not have heard too much about called Fantasian that came out in 2021 this year.
I've heard the name. I don't.
Yeah,
know
it's
anything about it.
it's an RPG, turn-based RPG made by one of the original Final Fantasy boys, Mr. Sakaguchi himself. And I just want to throw it out there because it's, I think, the first game that's eloquently handled random encounters this well in just a straight up old school turn-based RPG. Basically, I heard some other people talking about this mechanic, and I went and looked into it. They call it the Dimension system, which is a dumb Final Fantasy name. Basically, that means while you're walking around the world, there's random encounters, just like old school Final Fantasy. But if you turn this thing on, it starts storing up every random encounter battle that you find, and it just adds one to the list. And at any point, you can go and adventure about the world at your own pace, and then you can go back to the town or do whatever you want, and then you can hit the dimension thing and start that queue of battles. And you can just sit down and grind out 20 battles that you've added up over time. And they like use interesting mechanics that are only in those random encounter battles in that system. Like there's special power-ups that you can only pick up if you've been doing like, oh, if you just cleared 3 battles in a row, like going forward now you get this buff. Or like, oh, you just did like 10 battles without taking damage, like here's a cool item for your trouble. Like, but honestly, like the fact that it's 2021 and we're only now figuring out an eloquent solution to random encounters in turn-based RPGs is kind of wild.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good way.
Just a really simple, really well executed way to circumvent a timeless, frustrating mechanic.
Yeah. Well, we've got 8 on the list now. We got to get rid of 3 and then organize these. So
read them all out and then
yeah,
start cutting
we'll
things.
read them all out and then we'll figure out where we go from here. So we got Blinking from Before Your Eyes. We have the Magic System from Wildermyth. We have the Act 3 boss mechanics from Inscription. We have the Magnets from It Takes Two. We have Going Unsighted from Unsighted. We have the Huddle Up from Guardians of the Galaxy. We have the Abilities in Halo Infinite, and we have the Purple Crystal from Ratchet & Clank. What can we cut? Anyone want to?
I'm okay with cutting the purple crystals. I
Okay.
am okay with ultimately cutting them.
Yeah.
For as much as I love the mechanic, it is a great mechanic, and I wanted to give it its due. But
Yeah, if you like everything else on this list more, then that makes sense. You're the only one here that's actually played Ratchet & Clank on the new PS5 you got. So
yeah, so it's so good. Yum, 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 yum.
All right, so we got rid of 1. We got 2 left.
right.
Yeah, I guess, you know what? I can cut the Unsighted. I think it is a really, really cool mechanic, but I haven't finished the game, and I can't speak to, how impactful it is. It sounds like it would be, but I think I'd rather pick stuff that we've all beaten and, seen, so we can get rid of that.
all right, and then I'll just go ahead and quickly cut Blinking from Before Your Eyes, and no one's gonna argue with me. But in all seriousness, I'm if you guys are okay with it, I am pretty okay cutting the Magic System from Wildermyth.
Sure. I mean,
Um,
yeah. If you don't want to fight for it, it sounded very interesting. But
it is very interesting, and I'll say that like the game uses it in a really clever way. But in general, the turn-based battles in that game were not the most interesting part of it. By far, the more interesting thing is the story elements in the game and how it's all procedurally generated and randomized. But the magic system like was really interesting, and I thought it was very cool that you had to like use the environment to kind of decide what courses of action your mage could take. But at the end of the day, it was not the most interesting mechanic I've seen in any turn-based RPG like that. So,
all right, well then we've got our 5, and now we have to order things.
Makes it simple. We all cut one, and then we just gotta reorganize.
What are we thinking? Where's everyone at? Let's do it again. What's our top
three?
Top 3.
Kai, do you want to start this time?
Top 3. So what are our top 5 now?
So we have Blinking from Before Your Eyes, late game boss mechanics, Inscription, the Magnets, It Takes Two, Huddle Up from Guardians of the Galaxy, and the abilities from Halo Infinite.
Honestly, my number 1 would probably be the Inscription bosses. I just
Inscription wins everything.
It's so creative.
Yeah, it's very good.
No other game has done this kind of stuff. Where I'm like, look, I'm actually making cards for people, and they're making cards for me, and going through my files.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember what the 4th one is? I remember the web, I remember the files, and I remember the photographer. Oh, it's the build a boss. The build a boss where you have to choose the mechanics.
Yeah. Oh, I love the.
That was a good one too. Yeah, they were all great then.
You could like your first one. You're gonna try to make like a really just easy boss, and then like fuck.
Well, we haven't even mentioned the which one was it? The one that also has the like your Steam friends are the ones you're fighting against.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's I think that's the web one.
Yeah, I think it's the web one.
Yeah, Kai, I'm pretty sure you tried to kill me during that fight, just so you know.
Yes.
Yeah, I was in a Discord call with people who like were on the table.
My first 2 friends cards they sent after me were my old supervisors at my old retail job.
That's perfect.
And I was like, what the hell?
Okay.
Okay. And then what were your other 2? That's your number 1, Kai?
Then number 2 would probably be the huddle up mechanic, because I just love that mechanic. It's just so much fun. The one that I would cut would be before your eyes blinking, just because of how many times I had to recalibrate. It just got very frustrating, and if I was to mastercraft a blade, but god damn, those 15 times, I still remember that.
Yeah.
So I think that eliminates it from the top 3. And then what were the last 2? Oh, the magnets, right? The magnets.
The magnets and the abilities from Halo.
I'd put the abilities from Halo at number 4, and the
magnets for 3. Okay.
Yeah.
Ty?
Okay. For myself, knowing that I haven't really touched much of Guardians of the Galaxy yet, so the huddle up I don't have a lot of experience with. Same with the magnets, actually. So I'm going to put those 2 as my honorable mentions. Yeah, I haven't really gotten to either of those. But my order for the other 3 is going to be Inscription in first, Halo in second, and Before Your Eyes in third.
Okay. I got Inscription first, because I think I'd fight more for Before Your Eyes for most unique over best mechanic, just based on your, like I said, it worked for me, but based on your guys's.
I kind of agree with that, actually. Like, just on basis of how unique it is and how interesting the mechanic is utilized, I do kind of like it better than Halo's abilities. Because at the end of the day, Halo's abilities are a grapple hook and a push and a shield, and they're all things you've seen in games before, but they're just executed really well.
Yeah. Yeah,
so I'm comfortable putting blinking before Halo.
Okay, so we got those 2, and then it's either gonna be I think Huddle Up or abilities from Halo is 3, which is tough.
Just conceptually, I find that the Guardians abilities are more interesting. Mm-hmm. Or the Guardians Huddle Up is more interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
It's more unique to that game. There's no other game I can think of that has the Huddle Up mechanic.
I agree.
Whereas in Halo, like grappling hook is very Titanfall 2. The drop shield is very Halo 3. You've seen that stuff before,
Mm-hmm. I agree. So we've got our list worked out here. We've got the Inscription Act 3 boss mechanics is number 1. Blinking from Before Your Eyes is number 2. The Huddle Up from Guardians is number 3. Abilities from Halo and Magnets from It Takes Two is honorable mentions.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Good. Best mechanic out of the way.
Done.
We are back with most unique.
All right.
Quickly run through the list of nominees here, and we'll get through these now. We've got It Takes Two, Artful Escape, Inscription, Chicory, Halo Infinite, Unpacking, The Forgotten City, Wildermyth, Before Your Eyes, Returnal, Loop Hero, Toem, Lemniscate, Unsighted, Townscaper, One Step from Eden, Genesis Noir, XO1, Ring of Pain, and Boyfriend Dungeon.
Oh my god.
This will be
I think some of these can be cut.
Yes, this will be a quicker
No,
category.
none of these I'm okay with cutting.
Let's
No.
just let's run through first and be very short in
Okay.
what we're gonna say and cut what needs to be cut. So we'll just say if
Yeah.
if it's a game we want to keep, let's just say keep and move on. If it's a game we cut, then we cut it then. And
All right. Well, I think It Takes Two, the first game on the list, is a keep.
Kai, do you
Yep.
think it's keep?
Keep.
Okay, we'll keep that for
Yep.
now. And we'll move on to Artful Escape, which I think is a cut.
I agree.
Okay, so
I haven't
then-
played it.
Yeah, I'll quickly mention it then. Yeah, Artful Escape is very pretty. I think the most unique thing about it is its art style. Mechanically, it's basically Simon Says, so I just don't think from a gameplay standpoint I guess it's unique, but not in an interesting way. You know, it can't just be unique if it's not.
So, would you say that this is a game that could work just as well as just like some other type of visual medium, like not necessarily? You say the only gameplay mechanic is Simon Says. Would it be better if this was just a show with a beautiful art style like this? Or?
I think no, I still enjoyed playing it, but as someone who wanted some just more gameplay depth, I also really like walking simulators in games like
Fair.
this. But I think if you're gonna have a guitar, I think it should have been implemented more interestingly than just mashing the buttons and then doing literally Simon Says to what they were, what the inputs are.
Fair.
But yeah, we'll cut it. And then we
Goodbye,
have
Artful Escape.
Inscription, keep.
Yeah, that's not. We don't have
Oh,
to talk about
fuck.
that.
If we cut that, I would actually kill you two.
Yeah,
Chicory. None of us played it, so I say cut.
Cut.
that's sad to hear, but
I know.
yeah, cut.
But we just can't reasonably argue for a game.
No, of
that
course
we haven't
not.
played.
Yeah, makes
It's
perfect sense.
Chicory.
Me and Ty really want to play it.
I'll be
but-
playing it soon, but yeah,
and it does seem unique, like the painting mechanic and everything, and talking about mental health. But Halo Infinite, I vote cut.
Yeah, we can cut that. I
Agreed.
just love the game.
Okay.
I just love the game.
it's a wonderful game. It doesn't do anything especially
It's Halo.
unique for me.
Yeah. Unpacking, I vote keep.
I agree. I vote keep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I haven't played, so I just said.
Forgotten
Okay,
City,
Yes.
keep. Potentially cut.
Let's keep it for now.
Yeah,
but it's a
keep it
tricky
for
one.
Wildermyth.
Sure.
Trying to think.
Well-
What would you guys say is the game that you've played that gets you the closest to the D&D experience? Anything jump to mind? Because that's what this is. At the end of the day, like Wildermyth is a single-player version of D&D where a stranger
Divinity.
narrates at you. It does it better than Divinity.
Okay.
That's for sure.
Wasteland 3.
It definitely does it better than Wasteland 3. It's not a CRPG, to be clear about what Wildermyth is. It like is straight up just like there's a narrator and text on the screen explaining what happens, and then you decide what decision to make.
Right. Yeah. What do you think? Like, we can keep it for now.
Nah, we can cut
Okay.
it. I just love this game.
Before Your Eyes, keep.
That's unique.
Yeah, it's certainly unique.
for
You
now.
can't argue against that.
Returnal.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say it's unique enough for a keep for now.
'Kay.
It is a unique game.
Okay.
Loop Hero.
Cut.
Yeah. It's definitely unique.
It's definitely unique, but is it the most unique?
Yeah.
Is it the host with the most?
Yeah, we can cut it. Loop Hero's good. Play it. It's like an idle game that's got more going on. You have to actually pay attention.
But yeah, it's kind of weird in that it's an idle game that you have to pay attention to every once in a while. But
Yeah.
if you have two monitors and you play Loop Hero on one and do something else
That's
on
what
the
I
other,
did,
like watch
yeah.
a video or
Yeah.
talk to your friends or do whatever, like it's a great game for that.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to be engaged with it, but not so much where you can't listen to
Yeah.
other things.
Especially if you've played other RPG games before, like you can half pay attention to this and do great.
Toem, another game that we can't really talk about. It's definitely unique. It's like a photography game with a really good art style.
It is unique, but I will also say I've seen similar art styles before, and I'll also say that I've seen photography games
Yeah,
before. So yeah.
Lemniscate.
Yeah, I'd say keep.
Yeah,
Lemon
we can keep
Escape.
Lemniscate.
It is very unique.
I think I agree with that.
Unsighted. I'd say this is a strike. I'm glad I talked about the unsighted mechanic, but other than that, it plays like a really good Metroidvania, and there's not much.
You said it's top down though, right? Like it's more
Well,
like it's
It's
like
like it's like Zelda 2 or like
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what other Metroids would be.
Zelda.
It plays like
how I've
80
usually heard it
80s.
described.
Sort of. But yeah, goodbye. Townscaper. I fucking love this game. Y'all should play this. It's on Games Pass.
I've watched a little bit of Townscaper.
I would like to keep it for most unique. It's basically, Kai, have you seen anything about this?
No.
It's basically a
Nothing.
game where it's so hard to explain. It's just like empty water, and all you can do is place single 1x1 tiles that are like buildings. So a little house spawns when you click the tile, and you can change the colors of all the houses. But when you add, like, you can very fluidly add to the house that you just built, like another one block, and then it turns it into like a long house, or you can like stack on top of it to turn it into a tower, and you're just building a town. But it kind of works like Loop Hero in a way where when you do certain implementations of those tiles, it turns the buildings into something different. So if you like do a square of tiles that are empty in the middle, like it's not filled in, it turns it into a garden in the middle. Or if you do like a tower big enough with something protruding from the front, it turns it into a lighthouse. And so you start turning these buildings into different things. But it just is like, it's definitely just like a time waster game, but it just feels really good to build this little town. It's overwhelmingly positive for a reason, because if you just jam it for like 20 minutes, you're like, I get it. This is like just fun to screw around with. And it's definitely unique. I don't know. I want to keep it for now. I don't know if it stays because it's not really a full game. It feels more like how do you say it? Like a really good demo, or a really good like concept
It definitely,
or something.
It definitely feels like a really good like demo game.
Yeah, like, hey, if this was implemented into like an Age of Empires or like something of that ilk, that would be sick. But we'll keep it for now, and then
You're right. It would be sick.
yeah. One Step from Eden again. I think it's unique, but only because there hasn't been games like Mega Man. What's the game that it's based on? You know, have you seen One Step from Eden at all?
A little bit, but
It's based on
the
an
game that
offshoot of Mega Man.
Okay.
Where you are on like these tiles and you move your character around. But again, we haven't played it, so we can strike that.
I assumed
just
you
wanted
played
to-
it from how much.
No,
you-
I just wanted to at least mention games that like seemed unique, you know?
Fair.
And we're grinding through this list very quickly, so this is fine. Genesis Noir, which none of us played, but we've seen it. It's the game. It's just got a really striking art style. It's like a detective noir game, but also like the combination of being noir and talking about the Big Bang Theory and being in space is really cool. But it's a point and click game. So from gameplay wise,
It's a
not
simple
super
point and
unique.
click
Yeah.
game.
Story wise and looks is where
The art is what you're
unique
here for,
yeah.
really. Like in a point and click game like this, like you're just clicking along to see what happens next, basically.
Again, worth noting, and we might have argued for this if we had played it, but we haven't. So let's
of course.
XO1, a game I have played. I don't think I got a picture for this one. So I did.
I watched you play a bit of it.
Yeah, me and David, we definitely had some fun moments, but it's essentially a game where you play like a marble, but you're not a marble. You're like a spaceship. But the way, Kai, have you seen anything about this?
No.
So the way this game works is it's a 3D world where you play this little spaceship that's just shaped like a ball, and if you hit the left trigger, you increase the gravity of the ship, so you like shoot down really quickly, and you're trying to, what's that mobile game where you like
Tiny Wings.
is it called Tiny Wings, the one that I'm talking about?
I think so.
Where it's like where you want to hit the slopes at the right trajectory so that you like go like that and shoot up really fast. You know what I'm talking about? But it's just done in a way that it feels really satisfying to do. And there's not a lot of games like it, but yeah, we can get rid of it.
Yeah, we can strike.
Ring of Pain. This was close to my top 10 for the year, but it didn't quite make it. It is a roguelike where the cards that you're facing are in a ring, and you have to figure out the best way to beat them to advance the ring in the right way without running into shit that's going to be really hard to deal with.
This game really interests me. It's so cool.
It is very cool. It is very unique, but judging by what we have on this list,
it definitely doesn't add to most unique.
Yeah.
I say it's 100% a cut. At the end of the day, it's a deck builder roguelike, and I've played a few of those before. Hence, see Inscription at the top of all of our awards this year. But it is a cool game. I will say, Ring of Pain.
Yeah.
Definitely check it out, especially since it's on Game Pass.
Yeah, it is on Game Pass, and it at least it's worth noting that it's 2021. A lot of these games aren't going to be completely unique. If it at least adds a unique mechanic or unique structure to something that already exists, that's good enough. But I just don't think Tiny Wings. Yeah, it is Tiny Wings. Ty was right. But Ring of Pain, I just don't think it holds with the rest of this stuff. But it is at least a unique roguelike. And then we've got the last one on here, Boyfriend Dungeon, which me and Ty have played like a couple hours of.
I played like half the game, and then my
yeah, I
partner
played
who I
most
was
of it.
playing it with like went and finished it without me, so felt a little left out on that one.
And they're
But-
no longer partners. I was
Great,
kidding. No.
great game.
They are, sure.
Honestly, this is a very Hades-like game, Kai. If you haven't seen anything about it, but it's definitely like the cheaper version of
Yes.
Hades. It's like Hades without all of the super giant games
Yeah.
money.
Beats your Hades.
Mm-hmm.
The gameplay is the weakest part in my opinion, but the unique aspect comes from like it blends two genres.
For the gameplay's defense, it gets a little better as the game
Okay.
gets on. The enemy variety gets a little better.
Okay.
They start incorporating enough projectile enemies that it starts feeling a little bullet helly at times. And the differences between which sword you're dating and what that. So you date the swords, Kai, and you date them to level them up. You date the swords because in this world there's just sword people. They can transform into weapons and they can transform back into people, and that's all they. That's what
Well,
they do.
now that you said this,
Yeah, you should check it out.
like,
But you date the swords and it levels them up, and they actually do have some pretty interesting, like, unique, fun mechanics to them. On the art we used here, the middle girl was the one I spent the most time with out of these three, and she's like a rogue type dagger that gives you a bunch of like dodging and invisibility mechanics and like backstab critical hits if you get behind enemies. Like it's classic roguelike stuff. It's fun.
Yeah,
that sounds fun.
I really like that. The more you progress the relationships with these people, it adds abilities to your gameplay. Yeah, it's cool.
Okay.
It's the uniqueness is taking two existing genres and mashing them together really well. But do you want to keep it or do you want to
No, I don't really want to keep it. I think Hades does everything this game does, but better.
Yeah, I agree. Because, I guess, actually, that's a really fair point. Hades is kind of like a dating sim as well.
Yeah.
Less so, this game is like an actual straight-up dating sim. But Hades has the element of, like, character development, and you do go on dates with people in that game. So,
Yeah.
I guess that's a good reason to strike it from
I'll
the
also
start.
say, like, this game's dating sim mechanics do boil down to a tried and true
gift-giving.
gift-giving mechanic, which is basically
Oh,
just
so
like you craft
Hades.
gifts and
Hades, yeah.
and you give the correct gift to the correct person. But yeah, it's
oh, at least you have to think about it a little bit.
you do have
Yeah.
to think about it a little bit more.
Here's
There's a
some
lot of
vector.
gifts that would be
Here's the
kind of
new
okay
version.
for everyone, and they like aren't necessarily like one person's shtick. And yeah, I don't know. It was a good game, but
All right, we did a good job at narrowing that down, though. We're down
That
to
was the last
1,
one.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 again. So we've got to cut 3 here. Before we do the top 3 thing, let's see if there's anything that sticks out to us that we could get rid of here.
that we could get rid of from most unique.
I'm fine that Townscaper
Zuko.
made it this far. We can get rid of it. Like I said, if it was more of a full
heard
game
him on
that
the mic.
you didn't want to play just half an hour of, like I've probably put an hour into that game. Like if it was more than that, I think it could stick. But we'll get rid of Townscaper here. Does anyone else have any input?
Out of these, Kai, for your reference, the remaining list is It Takes Two, Inscription, Unpacking, The Forgotten City, Before Your Eyes, Returnal, and Lemniscate.
Honestly, for as much as I think the roguelike elements are pretty unique, and I think it does time loop stuff much better than Deathloop.
Have you beat Returnal?
And yeah, it's gonna be Returnal. No, I have not beat Returnal.
Okay.
It gets very difficult.
Yeah, I've heard the difficulty gets insane at some
I'm stoked
points.
for that.
And,
I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm really excited. That's like what I'm stoked for.
And yeah, I'll definitely go back and like play through the whole thing at some point.
Yeah.
But the way it delivers its story is unique. I really like the curse debuffs that they provide you a buff, but then you might also get a debuff, and you don't know what that debuff's gonna be, and it could be bad. I really like the roguelike elements of the game, but I'm good striking it.
Cool.
because, I mean,
So we got
I'm
6
gonna
left.
put that versus Inscription.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
I gotta throw some out here for you guys. I think that the ones that I would think we could strike here are Lemniscate, It Takes Two, or I'd say one of those two, maybe Forgotten City. I think personally, Unpacking, Before Your Eyes, and Inscription are hot.
Between It Takes Two, Lemniscate, and Forgotten City, you want to cut one?
I think so, but unless you guys think one of the ones I didn't mention.
I think between those three, Forgotten City is safe. and it's It Takes Two or Lemniscate gets cut.
Yeah.
First.
I think I'd lean towards Lemniscate because it is very unique, but there was also 5 time looping games that came out this year, so it feels less unique in this year.
But
itself.
it's the only multiplayer one on the list.
It's true.
And that
But
has
also,
some.
but also, It Takes Two is a multiplayer game as well.
But It
so-
Takes True. Yeah.
I think that.
But It Takes Two isn't a time looping multiplayer game.
Yeah, it's tough.
true,
I've never played a first person shooter that was single player or turn based before.
Yeah,
Like a
I mean, like,
multiplayer first person
Yeah, you're
shooter
making
that was
me-
strictly single player
It-
or 2 player. I guess you can do co-op.
You're making
but-
me think Lemniscate.
But I mean, also like It Takes Two. I haven't played a game with like that many varied mechanics in a long time, at least.
Yeah,
that had
yeah,
it just
true.
work that well each time, and actually have each one nail.
Yeah,
the
you
way.
guys told me I'm like probably about halfway through the game right now in the clock section, and like that's very exciting for me. That there's
Yeah.
going to be that many more
Like,
fun
there's not-
mechanics.
there's not one mechanic in the game where you're like, oh, this. You're not one like, oh, this one's the absolute boring one.
Yeah.
There's nothing to this mechanic.
I mean, you
No,
kind of know that
each one
right
is
from the
unique.
start. Like the hammer and nail are a good enough opening that
Yep.
like if this is what a hammer and nail are, how crazy are we gonna get with this?
I think
Yeah,
that
and yeah, I'd say that one's one of the basic ones. Yeah.
I think that A Way Out brings this down for most unique a little bit for me, just because I would fight for it more. And again, I kind of
They're
am fine with
completely different games.
Yeah, I
though.
don't
Yeah,
That's
think
the
they have
thing,
any
like, A
similar-
Way Out
the thing
is
they have in common
nothing like
in their
these two.
uniqueness is forced co-op with the screen splitting stuff. Like we've
Right.
seen that, we've seen the setup to the game before. They're
Yeah.
completely different mechanically, but
But
in
A Way
terms
Out
of- in
was-
terms of how they
It Takes
work
Two
as
is also-
games.
It Takes Two is also doing it as a 3D platform.
Yeah, here's-
where A Way Out is doing it as QuickTime events.
Yes, but I'm saying if A Way Out didn't exist, it would add to It Takes Two's uniqueness, because I would have never seen a forced co-op game with like that kind of.
Okay, but
screen
let me
share.
explain it to you this way. You don't care especially too much about the stories of either game, do you?
No.
But A Way Out's gameplay doesn't have anything to it that works with that story. There's nothing going on there gameplay or story-wise, so the game fails.
Yeah.
A Way Out was not that good. I don't think anybody really loved it
No.
critically or among friends, but It Takes Two is so different. Like every single gameplay mechanic is like fun and interesting to go through, and you're having a blast with each new toy that the game is handing you. Whereas A Way Out was like,
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm
just
just
kinda
I'm
walked
also.
around. And you didn't care about the story too much.
No.
So
I know, but I also, like you said with Lemniscate, it's just like implementing a time loop where it's turn-based. Like for me, it's just
yeah,
it's a combination of so many unique things. Like doing a
playing both
turn-based
sides
time
here.
loop. Yeah, this is probably gonna be the hardest one.
I
honestly,
think Ty's the deciding vote here.
I think It Takes
because-
Two gets cut.
okay,
Okay.
That's my vote.
that's
Yeah.
fine. And then I'll read them off for you, Kai. Here, so we got Inscription, Unpacking, Forgotten City, Before Your Eyes, Lemniscate. So let's go to our top 3 again, and I'll start this time. For me, Before Your Eyes is 1, Unpacking is 2, and Unpacking is 2, Inscription 3. That's my list, and then the other 2 are honorable mentions. Ty, do you want to go?
No, Kai, go first.
Okay, Kai.
Oh,
Do you want me to read them off
I
again?
know. Very, very confusing. We have very similar names. Yes. No. For number 1, I'm probably gonna pick Inscription as the most unique game I played this year. Then Before Your Eyes, and then by default Lemniscate because I haven't played.
Oh
Nice.
no!
Right, you haven't
That's
played Unpacking.
What happened to me last time? So
Yeah.
you get to deal with it this time.
Yeah, I mean, I like Lemniscate, and it's unique for sure. So I don't mind it having being number 3. It's not a bad choice at all.
Ty.
Okay, I think my order is Inscription, then Forgotten City, then Unpacking.
Okay, I think you guys are insane if you don't pick Before Your Eyes as number 1. Inscription. Let me give my debate here. Just listen. I love Inscription. It's quickly becoming.
in your top
it's
3.
even. I've even fell in love with it even more with the mod and joining the community and stuff. But it is a card. It's a deck building game. Before Your Eyes is built literally like nothing I've ever seen before. Like it is just not a game that you can compare to anything else. Whereas Inscription has a lot of unique stuff it does in the deck building genre, but and that's why I put Unpacking ahead too. I've never seen a game like Unpacking where you just unpack shit, but it works really well. And like I think we have to also consider the category here, where it's like I think Inscription is gonna get its due in Game
That's
of the Year
fair.
and everything as well. But for most unique, I just think Before Your Eyes and is the most unique game.
I'll say, for Inscription's defense, the ARG elements, as
That's
like
true, that does
cringy
happen.
as the story of it kinda is, like it is a little bit cringy, I think, in my
Yeah.
opinion. But it's also very fun and enjoyable. And clicking through those videos is like one of my fondest memories in the game. The first time
Yeah.
I like go through
That
it.
does add a lot to it too. You like, I think that is a good fair point. I think that the ARG, like seeing something like Doki Doki, brings it down a little bit, but also I've never seen like a live webcam thing like that. Like Doki Doki has like breaking the fourth wall things, but it doesn't have like
There's
transitioning
definitely
to
similar concepts out there, but
similar, but
hard cutting to live action
yeah,
camera
exactly,
footage and
exactly.
then
That's
back to
different.
gameplay
Yeah.
was definitely
Which is
shocking and not something that you see in every other game.
But yeah, that's my argument Before Your Eyes. If it doesn't win, I won't be satisfied, but I'll concede. But I just think that if we're talking as the category goes, I think it's just more unique.
I guess for me, like when it comes to Before Your Eyes, like I would be more accepting of putting it at number one if it worked as well as it did for you, Chase. Like
Yeah,
for
I
me
mean-
having to recalibrate something 17
But that doesn't
times,
really-
that doesn't
is
contribute to the
unique.
that makes sense for
the
most
problem,
best
you know?
mechanic, but it doesn't really contribute to its uniqueness if it works or not.
I don't know.
you
Then I guess the best way to put it is that just I'm not saying it's not unique. It's just it didn't have as the mechanic itself didn't have as much of an impact with me because
fair.
it didn't work like a good 30 to 40% of the time.
Yeah.
To be fair, like what Before Your Eyes is at the end of the day, if you kind of look past the blinking side of it, is another point and click game with pretty art, like we
Yeah.
talked about with Genesis Noir.
I guess not
In it-
really though. You're not.
No, not because of the blinking side of
Yeah.
it. It's different, but in the same way
Like
that you're writing off the deck building side of Inscription, like
Yeah, you're
you
always
could
gonna
write
be able
off
to-
the blinking
I
side
guess.
of.
Yes, it's just to what degree
Yeah,
where
exactly.
I find the and again, I think Inscription is incredibly unique, but
But also, like, how many games have you played that went from a roguelike deck building game to a Pokemon deck building game?
yes,
I
but
mean,
to
zero
be-
in that specific
a
order,
Dark
but
Souls
to be
style-
fair,
I've played
they-
those three types of deck building games before.
To be fair as well, they are all deck building games. It didn't like change completely to a different game, which would have been, you know, incredibly hard to do. But they are three deck building games side by side, and the Act 1 and 3, as much as I love those a lot, it's the same. You know, you're in a room, you move back from the table and solve puzzles. It's very similar, but. Yeah, I don't know. I gave my piece. If you guys don't think Before Your Eyes beats it, then we put Inscription at 1. And then what do we do for 2 and 3 then?
Because Before Your Eyes is at least a number 2 for me. Like, not this and that at all. I just think Inscription just had the bigger impact with me. To be
Yeah,
honest,
that's
in
fair.
terms of like the actual mechanic.
This is a tough one for me. I'm
It is
struggling
tough,
over
isn't
here.
it?
Okay, so I guess we can at least say Lemnis Gate and Forgotten City are 4 and 5, right?
Okay, yeah.
Is that okay?
The honorable
to say?
mentions.
Yeah.
Can we add a third honorable mention for Echoes of the Eye?
Oh, absolutely.
It's a DLC. At the end of the day,
Absolutely.
I don't like calling it the most unique game of all time, but honorable mention for Echoes of the Eye.
I'll just put it in brackets.
I think it works. So I think we're.
Okay, so what do we want for? I'll move this. What do we want for? Okay, so I guess Inscription, Before Your Eyes, and Packing.
I don't know. I'm
I'm-
kind of
I'm
coming
okay
around
with
on
that.
Before Your Eyes.
Let's go.
I'm thinking about it.
I mean, it's up to you.
I'm
guys,
meditating
but-
on it.
Yeah, again, this is not a category where we're super passionate about, but I think if I'm just going to argue my point, I think Before Your Eyes, if it's going to win anything, because I know it's going to, you know, because of how
How it was for everybody.
Game
Yeah.
of the Year, it'll probably be a lot lower, but I think.
But to be fair, like Lemnis Gate, or not Lemnis Gate, sorry, Inscription was also pretty poor for a lot of people. Nobody in this group, but
yeah, I know,
I've
all
heard
the
a
podcasts
lot.
we listen to, people are like,
Yeah.
bounced off.
A lot of people who bounced right off of it.
But and not that this matters, Inscription can win everything, but it would be nice to have some diversity. That's not really an argument, but it's just it would be cool to have.
All right, on that note,
We
it has
need
to go to Before Your
diversity
Eyes.
here,
We need
people.
diversity.
We need clicks. We need controversy.
This is the Inscription podcast now.
We tune in next week for our guest Daniel Mullins, where he talks about his new game.
Yeah.
He
Okay.
better sponsor the podcast.
At the end of the day, Ty, you gotta pull the.
Yeah, I think I'm actually gonna put Before Your Eyes in first.
Okay. Unpacking 3.
Fair enough.
And yeah,
Are
Unpacking
you guys
3,
okay with
'cause
Unpacking 3? Kai, I know you didn't play it.
Yeah, I didn't play it, so I kind of abstained from that vote, but I'm fine with
But
it.
the only other game he played on this list is
like-
Lemniscate.
Right, and
Yeah,
Remaining
and
on the list.
again, this is just not a category I'm super passionate about.
yeah,
this year.
it's just cool to see. It's just more for us to remind ourselves how fucking unique. Like, I don't know, 2021 was definitely a hit for big games, but seeing how different these games are from each other on this list is cool to get excited for the next year.
Well, I mean, I think what this goes to show is that I actually think it's the opposite for the AAA games, that most of them are just kind of blending into the background now at this point. Like,
yeah.
you're gonna put Far Cry 6 on the most unique list?
Yeah. But
No.
it's also kind of exciting to see Inscription is an indie game, and to see the quality of that game and how unique it is. Like, hopefully indie games just get bigger budgets and can make AAA quality games and have super unique ideas. But
yeah, because I think that's the best.
I mean, you're already
best of
seeing
both
that with
worlds.
groups like companies like Devolver and like Annapurna, like putting out such high quality indie games
Yeah.
and putting
And
in
Ghost
so
of
much
Game.
funding.
yeah, and go yeah.
With Deep Rock. Deep Rock feels like a AAA game.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah,
honestly.
and like
it feels that good.
I just mean those two publishers put out like a lot of consistently really
They
high
do.
quality indie games like every
And consistently
year.
unique as well.
And consistently unique. Like they're just giving anybody with a great pitch the funding to make a great game, and that's amazing.
Okay, so most unique we have Before Your Eyes first, Inscription second, Unpacking third, Forgotten City and Lemniscate as honorable mentions, and Echoes of the Eye as an honorable mention.
Don't blink or you'll miss our game of the year coming up next.
Hey, wow.
Recalibrating.
It's not working.
It was the most unique because the game made me go like this 15 times.
Okay, we are on to our game of the year, the
Woo-woo.
Game with Love game of the year, games of the year. So we'll quickly run through this list and get down to a top 5. So we have Halo Infinite, Resident Evil 8, Ratchet and Clank, Guardians of the Galaxy, Inscription, Before Your Eyes, Wildermyth, Lemniscate, GTFO, Deathloop, Back 4 Blood, Far Cry 6, Returnal, Loop Hero, Sable, It Takes Two, Valheim, Metroid Dread, Artful Escape, Echoes of the Eye, The Forgotten City, Death's Door, Unpacking, Backbone, Ring of Pain, Knockout City, and Grifflands.
I think
I
that
can
was
tell
every
this is-
game that came out this year.
Well, I just wanted to add every game we played this year, just to, or at least ones that we want to mention. But
yeah,
again,
we can cut Far Cry 6.
okay, we'll
right
cut that
I
right
also,
now.
yeah, that's fair. I
Far
also
Cry 6.
am hearing this
I'm the
list
one
and
that
thinking
played
this
that
is going to
game.
get a little heated soon.
It could.
And I
it
liked
definitely
it.
could.
But Far Cry 6 is getting cut.
Okay.
That's as someone who likes
Let's
it.
cut Back 4 Blood as well.
Yeah,
Any
I didn't
arguments?
like
Oh
Back
yeah.
4 Blood very
Oh my
much at all.
god. Ugh. Gross.
Yeah, let's go through and cut some stuff.
Okay.
We don't even have to start at the top because we're gonna keep
Well,
Halo.
I want to start from the top.
Okay.
Does Halo stay in the Game of the Year discussion 2021?
Well, should we do like what we're thinking should hit the top 5 right now because of how many games are in
We'll
this
just say
category?
I think it's
no.
faster to add and mention things that get cut.
Because
Yeah.
I would personally say like in terms of like the shooters that came out this year, it's by far the best one. I think
think-
Halo Infinite over Deathloop any day.
I think
Yeah.
we keep it for now. I
right.
think we keep it for now. Resident Evil 8, I think we keep for sure for now.
Yep.
Ratchet and Clank.
Ratchet and Clank.
Oh,
Remember, it's only top
Great.
5, so it's gonna be tough. But if
That's tough.
Yeah.
I think if it's not hitting your own personal top 3, that you should just cut it.
Yeah.
Is
Fair.
the way I'm thinking about it.
yeah. Okay.
And
I'm
Kai, you're
willing
the
to
only one
cut
here
it.
who's played it. You're willing to cut it?
I'm willing to cut it.
Okay.
It is a great game, and I wouldn't blame someone for having it being their game of the year. But
Yeah.
in terms of when you just said my top 3, I just thought of 3 other games.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, again, this is our personal list. Guardians of the Galaxy, I vote to keep for now. It's not in
Oh,
my
yeah.
top 5, but it's in my top 10, so it's worth
Yep.
keeping for now.
Oh, so we have to cut games from our top 5, but you only have to cut games from your top 10.
My
I
top
see
20
how it
are
is.
staying on this list.
Okay, cool.
Inscription, we can get rid of that. No
Inscription,
one liked that
yeah,
game.
No one liked that
Yeah,
game.
no,
It was
fuck
too weird.
Inscription.
It's too edgy.
too weird. Before Your Eyes, we keep. That's my number 2, so I'd like to keep it for now.
I mean,
Okay.
I don't know if I'd put it in the top 3. But...
Again, we'll get there. But
Older Myth is next, and it can get cut from the Game of the Year talk. It's
Wilder
not.
Myth
It's
can
not
get
in my
cut.
top 3.
Lemnis Gate can get cut.
Lemnis Gate can also.
It's
get
in my
cut.
top 10. I really enjoyed that game. I
But-
played the crap out of it, but it's not. Yeah, it can get cut.
It's a fun shooter. but-
GTFO can get cut.
Okay.
I hope we play more of that altogether,
Yeah.
honestly. But
I'm down.
I want to. So.
Deathloop, we're cutting that, Kai.
Oh, cut.
Ooh. I did not like Deathloop very much.
It's
Honestly, the more time goes on, the more I dislike it.
I was gonna say, for me, I don't. The more time goes on, I don't dislike it, but I forget about it. Like it's very forgettable to me.
And I guess I don't like forgettable games more
Yeah.
than
Yeah,
really
100%.
bad games.
I guess I get that. Yeah.
Returnal.
We can cut.
Okay.
It's a really fun game, but and again, I wouldn't even blame someone for putting it as the
Yeah.
game of the year.
Yeah, these are all like a lot of these are gonna be some people's favorite. Loop Hero, cut.
Loop Hero can get cut.
Sable, that's my number 4.
Sable, I might want to keep. Let's
Okay,
keep it.
we'll keep it for now. It Takes
Keep
Two.
it for now, then.
I think that's my number 5 or 6.
I want to.
Cut.
I almost want to keep it
Yeah,
for now.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Valheim. Sorry, Caleb, you're not here, so we're getting rid of
No,
Valheim.
sorry, Caleb. No cut.
Metroid Dread.
Ty, you've played it.
Metroid Dread's in my top 5.
Okay, we'll keep it for now. We're cutting the list down pretty quickly, so
It's number 5,
Good.
but it's in my top 5.
yeah, we'll keep it for now, and then we can just at least talk about it a little bit. Artful Escape, that's a cut. I didn't make my top 10. Echoes of the Eye is my number 1. This is where things are gonna get tricky because it's my number 1 game by like a
And
margin,
you can't
so-
spoil it for me.
I know. I can't spoil it for Ty either.
Yeah,
But we'll keep it for now because
the difference between Kai and I is that I've played Outer Wilds to completion,
Yeah.
the original game, and
we'll keep it for now because at least even if it makes honorable mention without talking about it, I'd be happy about it because it's my number 1. But let's
Yeah,
just keep it
okay.
for
Again,
now.
after
I like
Games
that.
Club games, it's basically right up next.
cool.
So
Forgotten City.
Forgotten City can get cut. It did not actually come out. I mean, it did come out this year, but it was a Skyrim mod from like 2000,
Again, in my top 10, but near the top of it.
from like the year 2000.
Death Door.
Death Door was a great game, but I don't think it deserves a Game of the Year nod.
Okay. Unpacking.
Unpacking was a great game, but I don't think it
Yep,
deserves a
I
Game
agree.
of the Year.
Deja vu.
Backbone was a good game, but I don't think it deserves Game of the Year. We get rid of that.
We're cutting things real quick.
Ring of Pain was close to my top 10. It was like around in the 10 to 15 range, but yeah, it's not going to compete with the rest of these.
Okay.
Knockout City, what are you doing? It was fun, but it's not even close.
Doesn't belong on this list.
Did not nominate that one.
Grifflands, I am looking forward to finishing. I beat the first character, but I don't consider for myself that I've beaten the game yet without playing the other 2 characters, especially because I really want to play the drunk character because I think mechanically it sounds interesting. But yeah, we can cut that. And yeah, we've gotten this list down pretty quickly. So we're down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So yeah, and then it's gonna start to get tricky here. Do we want to do? Let's see, because we got 9 here. Let's go. Let's do.
Which of these have only one of us played? Metroid Dread is the one I've played. Echoes of the Eye, only Chase has played.
Yeah, you haven't played that much. I think that's it, right? We've all played It Takes Two. You haven't beaten it yet. Oh, Kai hasn't played Sable, but we've
I haven't
played
played
Sable.
Sable,
But there's
You
2
two
of us
have.
that have played
Yeah.
Sable. Okay, so there's only those 2. So I'm fine with Metroid Dread getting pushed down into honorable mentions.
Wait, but not cut?
We can cut it.
Okay.
But
yeah,
I mean,
no.
yeah, you were
the
saying
fact it made it.
you-
the fact
they're
it
all
made it this
honorable
far.
mentions now.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
But yeah, Metroid Dread, I had some issues with, but at the end of the day, it was a really solid like sci-fi 2D action platformer, and A, we don't get enough of those that are of that high budget and quality, and
Yeah,
B, it feels very designed in my eyes to be like an intro point for new fans of Metroid, for people to jump into the series here and then go back and probably end up playing the remasters of the Metroid Prime games. And
well, the last game was Other M, right?
yeah, it's been a long time, man.
That was like what, 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Holy
that's
Yeah,
a long
the
time.
Metroid fans have been thirsty, but
People
they
seem to genuinely love it too. Like again,
yeah, it was a really fun game. There were some specific stuff in there that I didn't jive with, especially like the Emmys and like some of the map traversal stuff, but other things in there I absolutely love, like the flying mechanic and all the boss fights. The parrying was really satisfying every single time. It's just
it
a
does
really
look.
it's a really
looks
fun game.
satisfying from the trailers.
But yeah, we can cut it.
Okay, Metroid's off, so now we're getting close to it's gonna get a little tougher here. Let's go through all our top 3 again, so we can sort of start figuring this out.
Well, we each started once, so does anyone want to volunteer to give up their top 3 first?
I
And
can
get torn to shreds.
I can do it. Echoes of the Eye,
Go for it, Chase.
Before Your Eyes, and Inscription. Those are my top 3 of the year.
Okay.
They're all on this list, so I'm happy about that. Kai or Ty?
Well, I'll go.
Okay.
For me, the top 3 would be my number 1, and I'm glad to say it. It's Inscription. It's my game of the year. I absolutely love it. It's fucking phenomenal. My runner-up would be It Takes Two, and my third one up would be Halo Infinite. I fucking love Halo Infinite.
Okay.
And I'm more than fine putting that in my third place. I had so much fun with that game.
Okay. Ty?
It's difficult, but I think I'm going to have to go with Inscription, followed by Before Your Eyes, followed by Resident Evil. Maybe.
Okay. That's the thing. Resident Evil is a sleeper hit.
Resident Evil
It's
is
so
a very
good.
damn good game.
It is good.
And I
It
think
is
out of this
good.
list, it's definitely the game on here with the most general appeal. Maybe Halo.
yeah.
Maybe Halo, but like those two are the top 2 that fight for it.
So
But
yeah,
I like Halo Infinite more than RE8 from
I don't know.
a game perspective.
It's a tricky
Story perspective,
tricky
story
list
and
to
atmosphere
cut down.
perspective. Oh, it is RE8 like by far. But like as a function, like as a action game, it's gonna go to Halo Infinite for me.
well, at least
Um,
we can get rid of Sable.
Yeah, I think we can
love
cut
that
Sable.
game. I
That's
know you
fair.
do too, Ty, but
Yeah,
we didn't
it's
mention
really
it,
good.
so it's got to go.
Yeah.
So that helps us out a little bit. Now we're getting close to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Seven?
6, 7.
We
So
gotta
we
cut
need
2
2
more
more
from
to
this
be
list.
cut. This is where it gets cut. Although I think like Inscription is absolutely
Okay.
a lock for top 3.
I
No question,
think
if not number 1.
I think your point earlier, Inscription is a lock for top 3. I think that's fair. I think
Yeah.
your point that Echoes of the Eye can get pushed into an honorable mention, like fourth or fifth place, is fair, considering it's a DLC expansion to a game that came out not this year. And
No, but it's my favorite game of the year. Like,
Great.
calling it a DLC is just not doing it justice. It is a whole experience.
it's
that is,
true,
like-
it's a whole experience, but it is also an expansion to a
But
pre-existing game.
so are DLCs. DLCs are like I would say Blood and Wine is.
But you know,
a good
it's
experience.
totally
yeah, but if
it's
someone
totally
had Blood and
fair.
Wine on their
Okay,
list
but
as number 1, I
Let
would.
me phrase it this way, Chase. If somebody else has Destiny 2's most recent expansion on their top 3 games of their year list, personally, that's fair.
Mhm.
But as part of a group publication, I don't think Destiny 2 Wrath of the Lich King is actually the top 3 best game of the year.
Well, you don't. Yes, but you haven't. But I think if you beat Echoes of the Eye, might be your number 1 game of the year. But again, and also as a
That's
collective,
true.
there's only 3 of us. So if it's my number 1,
Okay, but I'm saying objectively, if I had beat Echoes of the Eye and it was my favorite game I'd ever played out of any gaming experience in my life, I would probably still not put it as game of the year because it wasn't a game that came out this year.
But then okay, but
Fundamentally.
my argument is then when do you talk about it? Like it is a piece of media.
You talk
that
about
exists.
it in every single other category that isn't game of the year.
expansion
I
of
don't
the
think
year or
that's-
something along those lines.
But no,
or
because
DLC.
there's
That's
not
unfair.
enough expansions that
No,
come out.
expansion
And
of the year is unfair.
and also, what other expansion is 12 to 15 hours and is in a whole new area of a game? Like you can play this, you can play Echoes of the Eye without playing
Blood
Outer
and
Wilds.
Wine.
Yeah, but again, I think that would be if someone had that on their game of the year, I would say that is fine.
I would if someone said Blood and Wine was game of the year, I wouldn't like. I love Blood and Wine, but it is The Witcher 3. It is still The Witcher 3.
Yeah,
It's a new
and
area.
I so
and it
far in
enhanced
the
Witcher 3.
in the 3 or 4 hours
Fine.
I've played,
I
Echoes of the
actually
Eye,
see Ty's
Fine.
logic here.
yeah,
And I love
I
Blood and
do
Wine.
see
It
his,
is still
I do
Outer
see his
Wilds.
logic, but yes, I
At
see
the
the
end of the day.
logic. It's out on a technicality. Fuck y'all.
No. I didn't say. All right, do you? But I didn't even say cut it. I said put it in 4th or 5th. Is what I said.
Well, I don't know.
The
Again,
top
I-
3?
again,
I don't know.
Even
I
if it's
said
my
it's
number,
not top 3. Is what I said.
know, but I get like it's my number 1, so I'm less vengeful about it. But I also think that I'm the only one who's played it, and all of us have played the rest of these games now. So, well, I guess you haven't played Guardians, but at least 2 of us have played these games now.
I've played a little bit of Guardians. I played about 2 hours of Guardians.
So this feels better. We still have to get rid of 1 though at this point.
which one gets cut. Kai, for you, do you know which one gets cut? For me, it's recap is Halo Infinite, Resident Evil 8, Guardians of the Galaxy, Inscription, Before Your Eyes, and It Takes Two to Tango.
Honestly, as much as I love RE8, I think it's the one to be cut.
Damn.
Ooh.
Yeah, I love
Spicy.
the game. Don't get me wrong, but I just think the other games are just more creative this year.
Personally, I would cut Halo, which is wild because I love Halo.
To be fair, though, you haven't played the Halo campaign.
campaign.
And if you had finished the Halo campaign,
but
you would think it's the game of the year.
No, definitely not. But it is.
I think you would at least say it's pretty damn good, though.
Yeah, for sure. But I don't even if I have played the Halo campaign, and again, this is obviously complete speculation. I don't know if it would beat RE8 Guardians.
Yeah, but then by that logic, Outer Wilds has to go.
That's
now,
what
too.
I was.
It's already gone.
Oh, I know.
I already conceded.
He cut it.
I'm sorry. Okay,
He can't see the
fine.
list for next year.
I mean, like Halo Infinite is a little bit more complex because we've all played the multiplayer.
Yes.
And only I've played the campaign.
Yes.
So
would you rather, if you had to choose to fight for something, because if I had to choose here, it would be Halo Infinite, It Takes Two, or this is tough. It would be Halo Infinite, It Takes Two, or Guardians, because Resident Evil 8 has a slight edge to Guardians for me.
Okay, if I had to cut one, it would be between Before Your Eyes and Halo Infinite. So I think it's going to be Halo Infinite.
And honestly, yeah, just because of my recalibration experience, I wouldn't put Before Your Eyes in the top 3 either. It's a great game, don't get me wrong, but and it emotionally resonated with me.
I also think that in this in this group, the sample size isn't big enough, but two out of 3 of us had a so-so time with the mechanics, and 1 out of 3 of us had a perfect experience. So
yeah, but again, if we're losing Echoes of the Eye because it's not a game, that makes Before Your Eyes my favorite game of the year. So I'm gonna I want it to at least be top 5, if not in top 3.
So that's
understandable.
That's understandable with me. Yeah, that's
but
it's just not
that's
my
what
top
I was
3.
building up to, is that our overlap is Halo Infinite. So
yeah, so it'll get.
What's
cut.
your number
It's
one again?
sad,
Ty Inscription or Kai? Yours is Inscription, and Ty
It's
yours is
Inscription. Yeah,
I think mine's also Inscription.
Okay, Halo Infinite is number 6, and now we're down to our top 5, and I can
I'm good with that,
confidently put Inscription at number 1. I think.
yeah,
Right?
I think so.
that I'm
We all
perfect
just
with
loved
that.
it, is the thing.
Oh, what
It's
have I done?
brilliant. It's like the more you think about that game and the more you find
stop.
out about it, the more you just fall in love with it.
I
you
was
know?
I had a gigantic smile on my face by the end of that game.
Yeah.
Like, I was just along for the ride. It was wild.
Mhm.
And there's
Yeah.
hasn't been anything like it for a while since since his previous game.
Yeah, and honestly, like I haven't played a game like it in a long time.
Yeah. The deck building
Long
side of it
time.
was also really fun.
Yeah,
Yes,
and I
that's
know
what holds it up too.
I know Casey's Mod is something that has come out post-launch, so it's not really in consideration for talking about for its game of the year, but that has brought so much more life into that game for me.
Yeah,
And I hope you guys, like, even just joining the Daniel Mullins Discord and being in the chat, like, I was telling David the other day that, like, I'll join that chat because as someone who just, like, likes to be around people when I'm working on stuff or, like, I don't know, just playing games and stuff, there's always, like, 8 people in the different chats, like 4 of them live streaming their games, and everyone's just helping out. And I've beaten Casey's Mod now, so I'm just, like, being like, oh, no, you should do this. And it's just, like, such a good sense of community in there, and it's fucking great. Just have all these people live streaming
that
their
for you.
Casey's Mod runs, and it's awesome. So, yeah, you guys should try out the mod. And
I definitely plan.
All right,
to,
well, yeah,
like-
let's Kyle, let's both install the Casey's mod, and we can both simultaneously stream
Yeah.
so that Chase can
I'll
watch us
watch,
both
yeah.
and see who's doing better.
Yeah.
I'm down.
Okay, now we have to figure out 2 and 3.
Okay. Resident Evil 8, Guardians of the Galaxy, Before Your Eyes, It Takes Two. I have not played Guardians of the Galaxy, so it is by default number 5 for me. I've finished all of these other games. I've only played like 2 hours of Guardians. And I think my personal order is the same as it is on this list, downwards, just with Guardians moved.
Got you. Okay. So that would mean Inscription 1, Resident Evil 8 2, Before Your Eyes 3, Guardians, and It Takes Two as the honorable mentions.
Honorable mentions, yeah. Really
okay.
Echoes of the Eye in the honorable mentions, because...
Right.
But
okay.
I know, Kai, you love Guardians. What's Guardians for you? 2? Is Guardians 2 on your list?
I would still say it would be Inscription, It Takes Two, then Guardians.
So you like It Takes Two better than Guardians?
Wow.
Yeah, just
Okay.
as a game, I like It Takes Two more. Again, I just gotta appreciate the unique mechanics. And while Guardians has an amazing story and some unique mechanics to it for sure, it is a game you have played before.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's not gonna be something where you're like, wow, I've never played something like this ever in my life. Like, no, you've played games.
Dialogue
like
tree and bad guys to shoot. Like,
yeah,
but,
exactly.
But I mean,
right?
it is like, the fact that it's in a top 5 on a list of someone who personally doesn't care that much about Marvel. And Ty, I know you're not super hot on Marvel, but you are somewhat in there, right?
I'm pretty hot on the MCU stuff. I just haven't finished this game yet.
I like don't.
Spider-Man: No Way Home was the best movie made this year.
Wow. Yeah, it honestly is. I agree with that. Honestly, it is.
But this isn't
okay. I'll speak for myself.
MCU podcast.
Don't speak for you guys, but as someone who personally isn't, I don't think MCU is bad. It's just not my style of storytelling. But for this game to for me to agree that this should be our top 5 is I think pretty good. But I agree with Kai's points that it's definitely a game you've seen before, the gameplay is solid, but it's really the character development that is a selling point for it. So I could see that going into the honorable mentions, and then we just have to figure out what our other honorable mention is. It seems like it might be It Takes Two, but Kai, you think Resident Evil is you'd rather fight for It Takes Two of Resident Evil?
Yeah, honestly, just because the thing with Resident Evil 8 and its design and why I'm not really keen to go back and replay it anytime soon, or at least not for a little bit when I got other games to play, is just because the haunted house sort of design, while fun for the first run, I'm gonna have to go through the whole dollhouse again and do the same puzzles that I did in my first playthrough, and there's gonna be nothing different to it.
Yeah,
I understand that, but I also don't think a second playthrough is a necessity.
Moreau is
Moreau's a fun boss fight.
Moreau's a fun boss fight, but that whole section, again, there's just going to be nothing different to it because, again, it's just a scripted sequence, right?
I agree with. Oh, sorry. Continue.
And at least with It Takes Two, even though it's theoretically a more linear game because RE8 has that semi-open world structure with the village, again, I just think the design is just much stronger in It Takes Two. I think the actual level design and the replayability design is much higher for It Takes Two than something like Resident Evil. And again, I enjoyed Resident Evil 8. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. Other Resident Evil games, I usually want to go back through them and play them again almost as soon as I beat them. RE8, it just didn't really get that drive.
No, I spent some time in the Mercenaries mode, but I don't really plan on going back and doing a second playthrough personally. But I also don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Other RE games other Resident Evil games all definitely have this. Well, not all of them, but the great Resident Evil games all have that element of wanting to immediately go back and do another playthrough with something a little bit different. But I don't know. I found RE8 enjoyable enough, on a first run, and I think that's fine. I think it's fair to not judge a game just based on its replayability, but on its playability instead.
I'd like to just interject and say that it is our list. So bringing up I'm glad Kai brought it up because if replayability is important to you, I am leaning more with Ty where first experience is much more important. I tend to not replay games a lot, so it's not super important to me. But if it is important to you, it's definitely worth.
It's not even just that it's important to Kai, but also that it's kind of important to the Resident Evil franchise. It's kind of part of the games. Is what, I guess what his core complaint is. I feel like.
Yeah, and I understand that.
Also, I was also saying that I think It Takes Two's level design and gameplay mechanics design is just much more interesting and better at the same time. I just think it's the better game.
Yeah, on my personal list, I'm pretty sure these were right beside each other. So I am, I don't know, kind of fine with either. Resident Evil aesthetically is much more interesting to me, and the stories in both I think were bad, but Resident Evil's was cheesy bad, and It Takes Two's was, I don't know. But again, It Takes Two is hella fun to play. It plays incredibly well. So
I'd say the moment to moment in It Takes Two is definitely more satisfying. But I think Resident Evil's Village's peaks were a lot more exciting for me than anything It Takes Two has on offer here.
Well, okay, I guess I'm the deciding factor then. This is tough. I mean, it's realistically it's 3 and 4, so it's not a huge deal. But I don't even remember which one was higher on my personal game list, but I'm thinking in this moment right now. Fuck, I don't know. I don't know.
It's
That's
tough,
all right.
right? It's a tough one to decide.
I think that
This is where we get down to brass tacks.
yeah.
Yeah, this is where
mean,
the
we're-
we say which game
At least
we're
we're
all
grappling hooks.
At
At least
least we
we're all-
decided what was game of the year so long ago.
Well, I mean, at least exactly. At least we're all unanimously happy with the first place one, so this doesn't feel as much of a loss. Because again, we all liked Resident Evil 8 and It Takes Two. It's not like we're arguing for a game that one of us hated and the other person liked. So, I think if I think back on which game I just enjoyed more, I think I'd give the slight edge to Resident Evil. I might change my mind tomorrow, but because It Takes Two was really good. I think I just think Resident Evil. I just like horror games better. I think at the end of the day, like if that's gonna be my deciding thing, is I just like horror as a genre better. But It Takes Two is like a necessity to play. I think like that game should be played by everybody.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's very good.
Grab
Okay.
a buddy, grab a friendo, sit down for some split screen time.
So we have our Game with Love Game of the Year is Inscription, first place. Before Your Eyes is silver. Resident Evil 8 is third, and It Takes Two and Guardians of the Galaxy is honorable mentions. And Echoes of the Eye is the real number one.
And Echoes of the Eye as possibly the real number one, to be updated in 6 months when both Kai and I finish it.
But no, that's a good list. I like that list.
Yeah, I think all 5 of these games are great games.
I'm glad that
Happy
at
to
least
see 'em.
we got to give Inscription its due too as well, because like Ty said, like all the podcasts we've listened to, people are like just falling off it. And I'm like, what are you doing? This game's so good. I can see why. It's a deck builder.
Yeah.
If you don't like deck builders, you're not gonna, just because it has cool ARG and surprise elements.
But also,
to it.
like, Kai kind of demonstrated that it's pretty easy to ignore those ARG elements in
That's true.
Inscription. Like, a lot of players will hyper-focus on the deck building side of it, and they won't even clue in. Like, they'll miss one or the other, right?
Yeah.
If either the ARG stuff or the deck building misses for you, you'll probably bounce off of Inscription and not have the experience that we all did with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But if you're
just so
along for both rides, then it's a
Yeah,
wild game.
Exactly. It just so happens that we like deck builders a lot. Like that's one of my favorite genres. And recently, I've just been loving those kind of games. So, well, thank you everyone for tuning in.
Thanks for
our-
listening to us yell about games.
Yeah, our part 2, and then we'll be back next week with our first regular podcast of the year, and continuing that through the months. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Exciting. Bye.